All right. What is up, everybody? I'm back. And I'm feeling a lot better than I did earlier. Still not quite where I want to be, but I don't know. It's just an off day. I think it's with the weather and the heat, and it's whatever. People have off days. We are human. You can't be like gung ho all the time. So, it is what it is. But as you can see my desktop right there. You can see YouTube. You can see a note app. Um, we're watching videos and researching and stuff. So right now, I'm working on watching. Sorry. Working on watching a video to modern industrialization. So we'll watch that now.
This is the complete beginner's guide to modern industrialization. This is being filmed on 1.21, but should be absolutely fine for all versions that you may be playing on. Now, this is a beginner's guide. So what does that actually mean? Well, we're going to be going through, of course, the introduction, how to use the mod and getting started, and then we're going to be looking at the Steam age. Once you get to the end of the Steam age, you pretty much should have a core understanding of the mod. However, I will have an ultimate guide and individual guides on my channel for you to see. And as you can see here, I do lots and lots of different mod guides, ultimate and beginner, for every single one of them. So if you are looking for other mods, don't forget to subscribe and check out what I have in my catalogue. And always comment below for other ones you may be interested in. If you're not familiar with this mod, it is a bit like GregTech or IC2, etc., but it's definitely a lot simpler, a lot more straightforward, and it's taken all that tediousness out of it. First thing you're going to want to make is an MI, Modern Industrialization Guidebook. How do we make this? It's some copper nuggets and a book. And this is going to give you everything you need to know, but you don't need to worry about that, of course, because you have me. The first two things you're going to then want to mine up is a ton of iron, tin, and copper. We do then have here the steam age, like I have previously mentioned, and then we have the electric age. In the steam age, it's basically a gateway to the electric age, so you are going to be replacing all of your steam age machines eventually. Once we get to the steam electric age, you won't be replacing those items, and you can then feel free to make your final setups, so do be aware of that. The first thing you want to make is a forge hammer here. Make it out of iron ingots and some heavy weighted pressure plates. I'm not going to be going through all recipes. I'm going to make the assumption that you know how to use JEI. If you don't, just click and then press R over a recipe to see how to make it. And then U is uses for items. And that's generally all you need to know get a usage tutorial. So a forge hammer, once you've got one, we can place it down like this. This is it in front of it. And then right click to go inside it. And then what you're going to do is in this left slot here, you're going to put the item you're going to use. And you are going to want to get Silk Touch for a lot of the ores here. There is going to be a way quite shortly I'm going to show you to easily get Silk Touch, so don't worry. Let's put in our iron ore. And you can see here, raw iron comes up. One iron ore makes two raw iron. If I click raw iron, I've then selected that recipe and I can take out 2 raw iron. It's now down to 48 iron ore.
I was looking for that earlier.
It goes down to 47. So I'm basically just clicking to take my output. There's also a slot here for a hammer. And this is for these hammers here. There's an iron one. There is a netherite one, a steel one, and a diamond one. The only difference between these is the durability on them. So let's have a look at how we make an iron hammer. If I press R on here, you can see it's some sticks and some iron large plates. To make iron large plates, we need 4 iron plates. And to make iron plates, you use the forge hammer. You can see here, 2 iron ingots makes 1 plate. So 2, 4, 6, 8 ingots will make 4 iron plates, and 4 iron plates makes 1 large one. You need 32 iron ingots to be able to make the iron hammer, which is quite a lot. Damn. However, once you make that iron hammer and we put it in here, what you're going to see is we're going to double up our output. So, 50% increase, not double. When I put in the iron hammer, I've unlocked another recipe. I can actually make 3 raw iron from 1 iron ore, or I can make 4, so actually we are doubling it, dust. So I can actually now make 4 iron dust out of 1 iron ore. Iron dust can be simply smelted into an ingot. So although you've spent quite a lot of time getting 32 iron ore to make your hammer, you now are actually going to be getting 4 iron per ore. So you've quadrupled it from, rather than getting 1, you're getting 4 each time. And you've doubled it if you weren't using a hammer. If I put in copper ingots into here, you can see we can make quite a lot of things. Copper bolts, curved plates, double ingots, dust, rods, rings, etc. And then double ingots, you can see I can make like double the amount of rings and plates and things like that. So you can always just put the item in and see the recipe. What I can also do is press U on the copper ingot here and then go to Forge Hammer at the top, and you can see what items can be made with that item that you're putting in there. And that is pretty much how you use the Forge Hammer. Now, I did say about getting Silk Touch really easily, and that is with a steam mining drill here. If we look at how to make that, you need some large iron plates again, which I've shown you, and a copper drill head. It looks quite complex with the copper drill head, needing plates, curved plates, bolts, and gears being made with bolts and rings, etc. But all of these items, when you just work it back, can all be made in the Forge Hammer. Just keep working it back, drill head, okay, a gear, okay, a ring. How do I make a ring? Forge hammer, nice, I can make it with a copper ingot. So once you've made your steam mining drill, you're going to see on top of it, it needs water, and it also needs some sort of combustible. The combustible is in that grey slot, and then the water percentage you can see is a bar. What I can do is just right-click over the water, and now the water is full. If I want to add coal into it, which is also something you'll need for the sort of burnable, I just take the steam mining drill and right-click it over the coal in my inventory, and now the coal is in there. So if I had coal in that slot, I pick up the mining drill, right-click the coal, and now it comes back out. Right-click the coal, and it goes back in. What I can also do by pressing Y for Yankee
3x3 mining? Get the fuck
keyboard
out
is
of here.
enable and disable 3x3 mining. Can you see that black outline?
It took me till like last night to get 3x3 mining with a mining laser. And I could have had it this whole time. Ugh. And Silk Touch. Oh my goodness. And this, like, the ore doubling and quadrupling. Oh my gosh. Why didn't I do this sooner? I was so afraid of this mod. It's funny.
Is going to change whenever I change it on there. You can also shift right click to actually enable and disable Silk Touch, so you don't have to have it enabled. But that is a great way of getting Silk Touch and also 3x3 mining early game. You can also press shift on some of these items to see more about them. The next thing we need to do, being in the Steam age, is actually make some steam. So to preface it, we're going to be using a boiler to boil up water and make steam. We're going to be using another machine to pump out the water for it. And then we're going to be using that steam to power some bronze machines. We're also going to be using item pipes, and we're going to be using fluid pipes. See here. Let's first look at the bronze boiler and actually making the steam itself. So a bronze boiler, we're going to need some bronze plates and a bronze tank, etc. And we're also going to need some fire clay bricks. To make bronze, what you're going to want to do is make bronze dust. And that is going to be 3 copper dust and 1 tin dust. You can make dusts in the Forge Hammer. So just make the bronze dust and then smelt them to make bronze ingots, put that in the Forge Hammer, and you can eventually get to your bronze boiler. You're also going to need fire clay bricks. This is 4 fire clay bricks. You need fire clay dust. Same thing again, it's brick dust and clay balls. Clay balls, so you just get from clay. And then brick dust, again, in the Forge Hammer, you can put in bricks and get the brick. Fire clay bricks, smelt it up, get the brick, make your bronze boiler. We place down a boiler, like you can see in front here. What you're going to see is a temperature bar, water, steam, so input and output, and also the hard fuel you're going to be using, which is going to be coal. So if I put down my bronze boiler here, as you can see here, I've got another machine, which is a bronze Forge Hammer. You can put in bricks.
Brick dust.
And get the brick. Fire clay bricks, smelt it up, get the brick, make your bronze boiler. We place down a boiler, like you can see in front here. What you're going to see is a temperature bar, water, steam, so input and output, and also the hard fuel you're going to be using, which is going to be coal. So if I put down my bronze boiler here, as you can see here, I've got another machine, which is a bronze water pump. Again, you just need some components that you can make in the forge hammer, and you're going to place it down, and you want to put water horizontally to the 8 ones around it. Now, annoyingly, to actually make your bronze water pump work, you will also need steam, because it is a steam-powered machine, and all of these bronze machines do require steam. I'm going to put the water down. Oh, you can see it's not making any water because we need steam. So how can we get steam then? Obviously, you could just put a bucket of water into this bronze boiler. But one thing you can actually do is get your bucket of water and put it into your furnace, and you can actually smelt up a bucket of steam. And you'll actually get a steam bucket. You can then get that steam bucket and just right-click it, left-click it, I think it is. There you go, left-click it into my bronze water cup and put steam in there. And that's going to be the same for all bronze machines. You can manually left-click in, water or steam, whatever they need, like that. Once you've done that and you've got your pump, what you're then going to do is shift right-click and then shift right-click again with a fluid pipe. That's going to attach the fluid pipes. What we can then do is right-click on the fluid pipe, and it's going to have a priority. So it will try and input and output to the highest priority first. And you can say, do I want this side to input or output? You can see there's a little arrow on there showing input. But we want to output from here. We want to output the water. So I'm going to say extract only on this button over here. And that's going to automatically, it knows that we're trying to extract the water. And shift click to clear that network of its fluid and just say, no, I don't want any. So that's going to output water automatically. What we can then do is shift right click and shift right click again to attach a fluid pipe to our boiler. And then we could just shift right click at it because there's nothing else in the way. Fluid pipes onto here. And then when they connect up so we're now exporting water. It's going to go into our boiler. You can see here the little arrow. We want to go to insert. It inserts the water into our boiler. You can then put coal in here, and the temperature will rise, and we will start making steam. Now, what you can also make is a wrench, just made from bronze plates. What we could do with a wrench is I can right-click these cables to connect or disconnect them. Shift right-click to make it drop. Right-click the fluid pipe back down. Right-click here, and right-click here to join it back up. There you go. This is a fully working system I've made here. Got the bronze boiler, water coming in from the pump, and if you only had, by the way, one water, so it would actually pump up a lot less. You want to surround it completely. And you can actually put these pipes in the water, and you can also put item pipes in it. Can you see there? I've got the item pipe and the fluid pipe. You can actually put these all in the same space, just like you could used to on Ender.io or can on Ender.io. So what we've got here is the pump exporting the water into the fluid pipe, which is going into the bronze boiler. I've got coal in here, and you could automate this by getting a chest, item pipe, saying extract on the item pipe, and you can see it defaults to whitelist mode enabled, which is a tad annoying. So if I put in my coal here, it is whitelisting the coal. However, if I take the coal out, can you see it says empty filter? If I put the coal into this chest, and it's automatically saying, yep, extract from the chest, input into into here, you can see the coal isn't going anywhere, even though there's space for it. What you want to do is right-click on the item pipe and click to blacklist mode, and it won't need a filter. Obviously, you could just click the coal into the whitelist. But if you don't want to whitelist it, you just change it to blacklist, and it will just let anything through, unless you obviously put things in that you want blacklisted. And now you can see it's filling up with coal.
Makes sense.
And then do is attach another fluid pipe and put it to out, and it will automatically take the steam out of our boiler. And I'm putting it through a bronze tank, and it's going back into our water pump. A bronze tank is just how you can store fluids, and steam is technically a fluid in this mod. And then we're just pumping it into all of our other bronze machines, and that is how you make steam. Now let's look at the machines that we can make out of our bronze. So we've got the bronze compressor, the mixer, the macerator, the cutting machine, and the furnace. The furnace doesn't make any more ores or anything. It's just double the speed of a normal furnace. And one steam boiler running at full temperature here can provide 4 machines with enough steam. However, I have got 5 here because I'm not going to be using all of 5 of these at once, and therefore there'll be more than enough steam. But running at full capacity, 1 steam boiler can run 4 machines at once. So first up, we have the compressor. Again, all of the items that you're going to be using here is going to be either like a forge hammer or items that you can make in the forge hammer. These machines will be really good at increasing your efficiency, by the way. The forge hammer is not as efficient. Using these bronze machines are going to be a lot better. So you can see in here, in the compressor, 1 bronze ingot makes 1 bronze plate. Whereas in the forge hammer, you need 2 bronze ingots to make a bronze plate. So it's half how much bronze you need. And that's going to basically compress things and automate it. Then you have the mixer. The mixer is going to mix things. This is really good for your ores as well. You can see in here, 3 copper dust and 1 tin makes 4 bronze dust. Whereas if you just do it in your crafting grid, you only get 3. So it's adding like a third more efficiency. There's loads of other things like TNT, paper, using wood pulp, which I'm not sure how to get yet. I will by the time I finish this video. Dirt into mud. There's loads of different things you can make here in the mixer. So do have a look. It's a really, really useful machine. We then have the bronze macerator. The macerator macerates things. So a really good example is things like dandelions and sunflowers. It's going to be quite efficient at doing so as well, like glowstone back into 4 glowstone dust. You can also use it to make things like cobblestone into gravel, 1 bone into 6 bone meal, blaze dust would be good, and things like that. And you can also macerate down, like if you've made too many bolts, using titanium as an example, obviously not using that yet, but you can make a titanium blade into 5 titanium tiny dust. Tiny dusts, you can put 9 of them into 1 dust, which you can then smelt up into an ingot, of course. So that's the macerator. We've got the cutting machine. Now, this is an interesting one. The cutting machine, you are going to need to be going on to the next phase, which is whole coke and things like that. So to use the cutting machine, as you can see here, it needs steam. It also needs lubricant. I'm just going to show you it quickly, what the cutting machine can do. It's going to cut things, basically. And it's going to do so very efficiently. Like an iron ingot will make 2 iron rods. Whereas in the forge hammer, 1 iron ingot makes 1 iron rod. So again, it's doubled. However, you do need to pump into it lubricant. Lubricant. At the start of the game, it's going to be creosote, okay? With some redstone dust and creosote in a mixer, you will get lubricant, which you can then use in your cutting machine. And you just use fluid pipes. How do we get creosote? Well, that is going to be made in the next step, which is the coke oven. I just wanted to show you these bronze machines first. So just do be aware, you are going to have to do the next step before being able to use the cutting machine. And then we've got the furnace, which I've already spoken about. And that is all of your bronze machines. Do keep these machines, because later on, down at this point, we're going to be upgrading them to steel. And you can directly upgrade these machines into their steel counterparts. And there you go. We've now made steam and looked at how to make all of the bronze machines. So then let's actually have a look at the coke oven. So to make the coke oven, you're going to need a few things. We're going to need some input and output hatches. We're going to need a coke oven and some bricks, just plain old bricks. So bricks, I'm sure you know how to make. You need 1 coke oven brick. And then you're going to need some input and output hatches. These are actually bronze hatches that you need to make. And there's 4 of them. And these are the fluid input hatch, the fluid output hatch, item input hatch, and the item output hatch.
Okay. Input and output hatch.
Quite simple what they do. You input fluids in the input hatch, you output fluids in the output, items in, items out. And you're going to need these, all 4 of them, in your coke oven. So what we're going to do with the coke oven is it's a 3x3. Interior is empty. So I'm just going to put my bricks down. Here, here, here. That's because I'm putting my hatches on the corners. I'm going to put a coke oven brick here, which is basically the controller. If you're not sure where the item should go, use your wrench And when you look at it, can you see it's showing you which items are missing here? It's showing me that there's nothing in the middle. I do need to put bricks around. Okay. I then hold over my fluid output hatch, showing me where I can put those. I can't put it on the middle row, as you can see, but I can put it on the top or bottom row. I'm going to put my fluid output hatch here. I'm going to put my item, input hatch here. I'm going to put my item output hatch here, and I meant to put fluid input here, item input, fluid output there, item output there. And I'm going to fill this up with bricks on the outside, and then add a third row. Now, if you do click on the controller here, you can see it says shape invalid. It does tell you when it's wrong. Once you've completed it, those inputs and output hatches will turn into the same color as the coke oven. And there you go, you've made a coke oven. Here's one I made earlier. I'm using a creative steam tank because I'm lazy. I'm going to pump in to the fluid input hatch, steam, and into the item input hatch, it's going to be, or it should be coal. As you can see, the coal is going in there. You can manually put this in, of course. You don't have to do it like I am. You could just bucket it in there. I wouldn't recommend bucketing it in. This mod is all about automation, and you will be needing a lot of coal coke. I can then right-click on it. You can see it says shape valid, status active. And on the item output, I now have a stack of coke. Take it out. You can now see that it's working because it's gone orange, so it's on. And you can see the percentage of progress in here. The recipe base is 2 EU per tick. Well, that's energy units per tick. With this steam boiler, this can make 2 EU per tick, so you're fine. And in the fluid output, you can see I'm getting creosote. And that creosote, remember, is what you're going to be using to make, you're going to be using it in the mixer. If I just get a bucket of creosote to show you, I could put it in the liquid slot of the mixer. And then I think it's redstone. I just put in here. And you can see I'm now making lubricant. And there we go, we've got some lubricant. And there's the mixer going. It's pretty cool. And obviously we're going to use that lubricant. You can fluid pipe it out into your cutting machine. And there you go, you have made a coke oven. Now that you've got your coke oven, we are now going to go one step further and look at how to make steel. Quite similar, but different. We're going to be making a steam blast furnace. Rather than bricks, you need a load of fire clay bricks. These are the same ones we made earlier. So fire clay dust that you can make, well, in a mixer now, actually. 2 and 2 makes 4, rather than 2 and 2 making 3 in your crafting table. We're also going to need a steam blast furnace, which is just a blast furnace with more fire clay bricks. So in a similar way that you made your coke oven. And then again, inputs and outputs. So the only difference here is it's 1, 2, 3, 4 high, and you don't put a ceiling on it. So it's only the bottom one. Like if I show you, so for the middle, you have this middle one here. That's it. And 1, 2, 3. You're going to be putting in items. So you need an item input hatch, a fluid input hatch, again for steam, and then a fluid input hatch. Don't put a ceiling on it. So it's only the bottom one. Like if I show you, so for the middle, you have this middle one here. That's it. And 1, 2, 3. You're going to be putting in items. So you need an item input hatch, a fluid input hatch, again for steam, and then a fluid input hatch. Who would have this? Steam blast furnace. What? Oh yes, you can actually do lots of different things in here. So hatch output, using a fluid output hatch, just in case you want to make another recipe at a later date using this, because you can put redstone in here to get molten redstone, raw synthetic oil to get synthetic oil, soldering alloy as well. But for right now, you don't have to make a second output hatch for fluid, only item, because you're making steel ingots. So basically, really simply in this one, you just pump in steam, and in the item slot, you're pumping in uncooked steel dust. This can be made in the crafting table with iron dust and coke dust. Coke dust is made by using your macerator with the coke that you have made in here. So if I take the coke out from our coke oven, I'm then going to run along to my macerator. I put the coke in here. You then get coke dust. With the coke dust, I then make uncooked steel dust with iron dust. Iron dust, again, you can use the macerator. 1 ingot makes 1 dust. In the forge hammer, of course, probably where you're going to be getting your iron dust, you can get from iron ore, you can get 4 iron dust. That will make you uncooked steel dust. And you just put this into your steam blast furnace into the item input, and after 30 seconds, it will make a steel ingot. So it does take quite a long time. One thing you can do on here is use gunpowder. If I right click in here, you see it says status active, full of steel ingots. You see now it's going 14, 15, 16, 17. What you can actually do is right click gunpowder on it, and can you see it says overclock 4 minutes, and now it's going at twice the speed. You can use gunpowder on your machines like I just have, and it will actually overclock them for a certain amount of time and double their speed. There you go. We now know how to make steel. If this is overwhelming or anything, just look down below in this video. It is all chaptered for your convenience, by the way. And I do actually make all of these mod tutorials by request. So sometimes I find ones to do myself, but a lot of the ones I do are actually by community requests. So if you just comment down below mods that you want tutorials for, it actually makes my life easier, and obviously it makes your life easier because you get the guides. Now that we've got our steel ingots, what the hell are we going to do with them? Well, the first thing you're going to want to do is upgrade your bronze machines. We have here steel upgrade. They are pretty simple-ish to make. Need some fireclay bricks, some fluid pipes, bronze items that you can make in the various machines we've already seen, and a steel machine casing. And this is just with steel plates and steel gears. And again, like steel rings, etc. You're basically just going back. Once you've got your steel ingots, you can just put them in like the compressor or the forge hammer, etc., and make the exact same items that we're making before, just now with steel. You don't have to do anything different or fancy. This recipe will give you 2 steel upgrades. And there is 2 ways to upgrade them. If I take my 2 steel upgrades, first way you can upgrade them is literally by going over to your machine and right-clicking it, or sorry, shift right-clicking it. You can now see that I have upgraded my bronze furnace to a steel furnace. You see here on the bronze cutting machine, it says at the top, steam 2 buckets. If I shift right click, it's now 4 buckets of steam. So it's going to work at twice the speed, but also use twice as much steam. Don't worry, of course, because you can upgrade your steam boiler to a steel boiler, which could take up twice the amount of water and make twice the amount of steam. Same thing with your water pump. You can upgrade it to a steel version. So you get the hint. I can do the same with my bronze. No, I can't do the same with my bronze tank. You can make bronze tanks, but you can't use the upgrade. So I can upgrade all these machines to steel counterparts, and they are nice and fast. Another way you can do it is by going into a crafting table, putting, say, your bronze compressor in, putting in a steel upgrade, and you can then get the steel compressor. And that's the second way that you can upgrade your machines. There we go. We've now upgraded our machines to steel. There's also a few new machines that you can make when you get to steel, and that is going to be the steel packer and unpacker. It looks like this. You basically are packing these items into one. We look at what we can use with it. Things like making 9 nuggets into an ingot, 4 plates into a large plate, which, no, it was always the same, isn't it? So I don't think you get much or any efficiency out of this. It's just more automation. The unpacker obviously does the opposite, and that does take steam to work. The last one is the automatic trash can, and you can pump any items or fluids into here, and it will void them. Last but not least, with steam, steam and steel, is going to be the quarry. This here is the steel quarry. We're going to need a few items to make this, and this is basically it's your quarry, just like, in the olden days. We're going to need a steam quarry itself, which is the controller here. We're going to need a load of steel machine casings. We're going to need some steel pipe machine casings. And we're also going to need some chains, which are just the basic vanilla Minecraft chains. And again, you will need some steel item input hatches. You need a steel fluid input, a steel item input, and a steel item output. So fluid and items in, just items out. One thing I have forgot to mention regarding the input and output, if I actually use, I think you can use the upgrade ones on my hatches here, it will upgrade the whole machine to a steel version. So let's say I want to upgrade my blast furnace. Steel fluid input. I put that on there. Yes, you don't seem to be able to use the steel upgrades on them. If you make a steel version of the hatch, only one of them, it will actually upgrade the entire machine. You can see it's going even faster now. You can see it's using 4 EU per tick. So the base recipe is 2. It can now use 4. And the steel boilers can do up to 4. Bronze is 2, steel is 4. That's a way you can also upgrade then your steam blast furnace and your back to the quarry. So you're going to put your quarry at the front here. What you're then going to do is go all the way around 1, 2, 3, and go up 1 with machine casings. So literally just like that. Then on the middle, you're going to go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 with your steel pipe machine casings. You're then going to get your chain and go all the way from the ground and have it coming up to here. And then on top, you just get another machine casing like that. And then you need your inputs and outputs for your fluid. I've got my fluid input, and I'm going to use my item input. In fact, I'm just going to show you the one earlier at this point. You've made the quarry. What you actually need to input into the item hatch is bronze drills. You make these with item pipes, iron gears, and bronze drill heads. But it does take a little bit of work to get them. As you can see, you need quite a few items to make these bronze drill heads. But if you make a stack of them, for example, what you're then going to do, pump them into the item input hatch, pump in steam into the input fluid hatch, and then in the output hatch, you're actually going to be getting ores. And this is a super flat world, so you don't need the ores underneath you or anything.
Oh,
it does technically
okay.
mine them out of nowhere, which is
Mine
fantastic.
them out of
Which means
nowhere.
you never have to
Nice.
move your quarry, which I love. I hate moving these things and these mods. And as you can see, I've gotten quite... This is with a stack. Or is that only with 1? Still running? Yeah, okay. So it looks like it's only used 1 bronze drill. And then in here, it doesn't tell me the durability of my drill. I believe I only put 1 stack in here for this tutorial. I've already gotten that much. So the bronze drills do last a really long time. So it does take you a while to make them. I would just say make 1 or 2. And then you're going to have tons of ore already, just with those few drills. And there you go. So this is the complete steam age, guys. You've started off with your forge hammer. You've looked at boiling up steam and using it in bronze machines. You've then looked at making a coke oven to make creosote and also coke that we can use with our steam blast furnace to make steel out of uncooked steel dust. Steam. Yep. And then we've looked at actually using that steel to make a quarry and also a few extra machines and also upgrading our machines. And that is it for the beginner. This is the ultimate guide to modern industrialization. We are going to be zooming through the ages of this mod. And my goodness, this is a mod indeed. It is absolutely massive, extremely complex, and there is so much to learn. What you're going to be learning in this video is how to make steam, looking at making starter machines and steel, going on to coke ovens, blast furnaces, electric quarries. We're going to be looking at steam boilers, moving on to electricity, then going on to electric blast furnaces, oil rigs, making diesel, making boosted diesel and really complex different materials, stainless steel and distillery and boosted diesels, upgrading to massive diesel generators, and finally going on to nuclear power and fusion.
Get the fuck out of here.
Before we get to fusion, we have to start from the beginning.
There's so much in this.
If you're not familiar with this mod, it is a bit like GregTech or IC2, etc., but it's definitely a lot simpler, a lot more straightforward, and it's taken all that tediousness out of it. First thing you're going to want to make is an MI, Modern Industrialization Guidebook. How do we make this? It's some copper nuggets and a book. And this is going to give you everything you need to know. But you don't need to worry about that, of course, because you have me. The first 2 things you're going to then want to mine up is a ton of iron, tin, and copper. We do then have here the steam, where you are going to have to do the next step before being able to use the cutting machine. And then we've got the fire clay bricks. These are the same. There we go. We now know how to make steel. If this is overwhelming or anything, just look down below in this video. It is all chaptered. We're going to need a load of steel machines 2. It can now use 4. And the steel, 1 or 2. And then you're going to have tons of ore already, just with those few drills. And there you go. So this is the complete steam age, guys. You've started off with your forge hammer. You've looked at boiling up.
I could have just watched this video from the get-go.
Bronze machines.
You combine both.
Looked at making a coke oven to make creosote and also coke that we can use with our steam blast furnace to make steel out of uncooked steel dust. Steam. Yep. And then we've looked at actually using that steel to make a quarry and also a few extra machines and also upgrading our machines. That now concludes the steam age. What we're going to happen next is that we're actually going to move on to the electric age, and we're going to slowly transition away from steam and into electricity. Well, not slowly, but quite quickly. First thing we're going to make in this instance is going to be the large steam boiler. And that basically looks like this. So what you're actually going to need is going to be the large steam boiler. We're going to need some bronze plated bricks, and we're going to need some heat-proof machine cases. It uses fuels 8 times faster than the furnace does, but it produces 256 millibuckets of steam when fully heated. Unlike its single block counterpart, 80% of any unconsumed heat will be lost. So basically, you want it running at maximum output, otherwise you will lose the steam and heat that you. So the steam boiler itself, I think, has to go on the 2nd level. And then at the bottom, we're putting heat-proof machine casing. So again, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 proof machine casings. Large steam boiler on, and then you can see what we need. So it's basically the outer casings all around the outside, 1, 2, 3 rows, and on the inside you just have 2 of these, which are our bronze pipe machine. So I'm going to put 1 and 2 in there, and then just surround it with bronze plated, and that is going to go 1, 2, 3, like
this
that.
guy's mic is all fucked up.
I'm going to need an input hatch. I would advise a steel input hatch. You can see you could put this on the bottom row only. In here is where you're going to put your coal. Now heating up quite quickly, the temperature flying up here. And then you're also going to want a steel fluid output hatch. You are also going to want a steel fluid input hatch to input your water, just like you would with the smaller counterpart. So a fluid output for the steam, a fluid input for the water, and an item input for your coal or fuel that you will be burning. And that is the large steam boiler. There's also a large tank that you can make here. And this is really good for storing massive amounts of, let's say, steam, for example, that you've just made in your large steam boiler. For this, you're going to need a large tank. You're going to need steel machine casings, and you're going to need some glass. So if I place, let's say I place a steel machine casing and a large tank on top of it. As you can see here, this is the shape that you can use. Now, if I actually right-click on the large tank, there's a button here that says Select Multi-Block Size. I can say I want the width to be 5 and the height to be 4. Now when I look with my wrench, you can see it's showing me what items are needed to make it into this shape. Let's just do the smallest version for this. You can see it can hold 1.7 kilobuckets. So is that 1.7 thousand buckets? 1,500 buckets? But it's a lot of steam. And you can see here you just need basically lots of steel machine casings. It's going to be glass here, 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 and one up top as well. So I'm going to sort of like this. See that? That's how you're going to do it. And this should be, yes, that's. I'm going to go filling in around it with the steel case like this. And there we go. You'll know it's worked because it shows you how much you can store in there. If I break this, working. Thought that there was nothing. Maybe it will. And just like with the other machines, you can actually add a large tank hatch onto this one. It's specifically got its own name. It's the large tank. And that's how you can pump in things like steam or whatever other fluids you would like. Before we start making actual electricity and going into the electric age fully, we need to make wires to be able to connect our machines. And for that, we will want a wire mill. You can start off by making a steel wire mill. And again, this will require steam to work. So, wire mill, steel wire mill. It's just some steel machine casing and some bronze gears. Very easy to make. In here, what you can do, if you look at show recipes, is it can turn plates into annealed copper wire, aluminum wire, copper fine wire, and that is actually it. It's just going to make fine wire and just wires. If we look at the copper wire here, for example, you can see in a crafting table that we can make copper cables with rubber sheets and copper wires. So rubber is the other thing you're going to need to make your cables to transport your electricity. So we've already covered how to make the wires. You can make a few other things that you're going to need. Capacitors, motors, analog circuits, and inductors, and things like that. And inductors. These often are going to need rubber sheets as well, and the wires that you've just made in your wire mill. So now let's have a look.
You guys can hear me and the video. Good.
So rubber sheets will be made with synthetic oil. This is in a mixer. Remember, you've already made a bronze or steel mixer. Synthetic oil is made in the mixer. Sorry, rubber sheets are made in the mixer with synthetic oil and paper. Synthetic oil is made in your electric blast furnace, which is this machine over here, which you don't have yet. So don't worry. You can also make it in the steam blast furnace. So raw synthetic oil into synthetic oil. You're basically cooking it up in the steam blast furnace. How do we make raw synthetic oil? Well, you can actually mix water and coke dust in the mixer. Coke dust is gotten by macerating your coke that you make in your blast furnace into dust. So let's go the other way and look at start to finish. Step 1, make your coke in the blast furnace. You've probably already done this, or in your coke oven, sorry. So make your coke and then macerate it in a macerator into coke dust. Then step 2, go to your mixer with the coke dust and add in water. That will mix into raw synthetic oil.
Okay.
Step 3, go into your steam blast furnace and put the raw synthetic oil in to make synthetic oil. Okay. Step 4, put paper and synthetic oil into a mixer to make rubber sheets. I would highly advise that you do automate these kinds of things because you are going to be making a lot of them. One thing about cables as well, once you've made them, is if you press shift on them, you can see copper cables. Max transfer is 256 EU. That is low voltage. Same with silver, tin, and then cupronickel is 1024. That is medium voltage. Electrum is medium voltage. Aluminum is high voltage at 8000 EU. And then EV is 65,000. And then there's SV, which is superconductor, which is 1 giga EU. You can press shift to see which different cables you are using there. Some machines are going to use low voltage, some are going to use medium voltage. All of the ones that I'm going to show you in the next sort of few chapters is going to be low voltage. You can make these transformers here. This is a low voltage to medium voltage transformer. And that will have 5 inputs for the low voltage and 1 medium voltage output. However, a medium voltage to low voltage will have 1 input for the medium voltage, but 5 low voltage outputs. Just read through this a few times if you're not sure. We're not going to be using transformers just yet, though. Now it is time to start making electricity. If this is getting overwhelming at this point, because it is starting to get quite complex, just watch this chapter again. It's all chaptered in the video and timestamped. Next up, we are finally going to make electricity. And I'm going to give you 2 options for making electricity. There's the low voltage steam turbine, and there's the low voltage diesel generator. So the low voltage steam turbine is probably the easiest way to make electricity. If we look inside it, you can see we've got 3200 EU in here, and we've got the steam. So basically for this one, you pump in steam and it turns a turbine, which then makes electricity. You can then add a copper cable at the back, and this is going to output the electricity to wherever you need it to, low voltage. So here are some machines here, and we're powering these with our copper cables. Also can make the low voltage diesel generator. You don't have to use diesel at this point. We are going to look at making diesel. I'm going to show you an automated process for it. Can use creosote at this point. Don't forget that creosote will be made in your coke oven as a byproduct when smelting coal, and you can use that straight away in the LV diesel generator. And these are the two ways that I would advise you to make electricity to start with. And now you are officially in the electronic age. The only kind of new things that you're going to need to make these machines is going to be the copper wire in the wire mill and some magnetic steel rods, which is just a steel rod and some redstone, and some tin cables as well, using that rubber and tin wire. So you must make the wire mill and your cables first before making your LV steam turbines, etc., because you will need the rubber. There's two other little machines I want to show you. One is the polarizer. As you can see in the polarizer, it has a magnet sign. If we look at recipes, what you can do is polarize things. Copper nickel wire into magnetic copper nickel wire, magnetic stainless steel rods with neodymium dust, which you don't know how to get yet, and also steel rods into magnetic steel rods. Oh. So make a polarizer, and then you can just polarize your steel rods into magnetic versions. If you want to make it manually, you can. However, it's going to be 6 redstone. Versus using it in the polarizer, you just use some electricity. That's already making that a lot easier. Other one is the assembler. This is a really awesome machine. It does say in the guidebook, we strongly suggest you automate machine hulls, analog circuits, motors, pistons, robot arms, and conveyor belts. So basically make a ton of assemblers. If we look in the assembler, you can see here we have empty slots. If we press show recipes, on the left-hand side is where you put your items, and then on...
All right, let's halt that video and go look at other videos. This is Greg Check New Horizon. Greg Check. This. Refined storage, might as well. What other mods do I have? Generate silent mechanisms. Hostile neural network, I know how to do that. Pretty pipes, yeah. Maybe. Do we have pretty pipes in here? We do, okay. So, get that. Get out of here. Is it easy mob farm mod? Let's check this out.
This is the ultimate start to finish guide for easy mob farms. One of the best mob farm mods you can get. So, step one, how do we capture mobs to go into our mob farms?
Don't link to it or
well,
anything.
Down here, you can see we have a few different mob traps. There's the creative mob capture, and then there's also the enduring, the ironbound, the mystic, and the void binding chains. Well, net, cage, crystal, and chain. What you'll see here on the enduring one, made simply with a feather, string, and lead even, is that you can target a mob and right click to capture it. But the maximum mob size is 0.1 times 1.4. So it's only going to be able to capture really small mobs, like maybe a chicken. And it has 64 uses, meaning it can be used over and over and over. The minimum mob health to capture is 50%. So you do need to harm the mob down to 50%. The ironbound, being a bit more expensive, can capture mobs from 1.5 to 2, find things like sheep and pigs, and you need 25% health, and it has 32 uses. Then we have the mystic binding one, able to catch 3 times 4, so enderman, I guess, and things like that. And then the void one, being able to get 4 times 6 size mobs. So let's show it in action with a cow. So I think a cow would be mystic binding. Sorry, Mr. Cow. But you are coming with me. And you can see here, the mob is too strong. Try weakening it. So I'm just going to hurt the cow. It's only got half a heart. And now I can right click and you can see the crystal has turned red. And you can see in here it says type Minecraft cow. What I'm then going to do is go into one of my farms. So let's see what farms we have to make. So we've got the mob farm template tier 0, 1, 2, and 3. The way that these work is what I've got here is a animal plains farm, which we'll be using for our cow, a tier 0, 1, 2, and 3. So you could basically see it's copper, gold, iron, and netherite. Is that right? Yes. So you can just make them on their own, or you can upgrade previous tiers if you'd like. And basically, the higher tiers are going to make more goods faster. So it's going to make meat, etc., from the cow faster. Before we get into the video, thank you so much to G-Portal for sponsoring this video. You can get Minecraft or a plethora of other games. I should have told you that first. So once you've got your basic one, you can then upgrade it into, say, a plains one by using these items. And it'll be an animal plains farm, a farm designed for plains animals. We can also see down here, there's a beehive farm using some flowers, etc. And again, you're making it with, a tier 0 or a tier 1. A tier 2 or a tier 3 in the middle, depending on what tier you are wanting to use for your bee farm. Then there's a desert farm using desert items. There's a jungle farm, a iron golem farm. There is a monster plains cave farm, which is basically just like zombies and skeletons and just general mobs. We've got an ocean one for getting what they called fish. That's the word. A swamp farm for frogs and things like that. And also then a nether fortress one for the ones in the nether. And a lucky drop farm as well, which is good for rare item mobs. So, of course, I'm using the animal plains one here for the example. Now, we've got our cow in the mystic binding crystal. You simply can either, just from here, right-click it in, as you can just see, or you could just plop it into this central slot here, and it'll show you the cow trapped inside the farm. We've then got this little blue bar, and basically once this blue bar slowly but surely gets to the end, once it does get to the end, it will then produce some goods from the cow. The higher the tier, so tier 1, 2, 3, the higher the tier, the quicker this will go. So now let's look at what we've got here. Well, we've got these little slots here. The rest are grayed out. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 item output slots. You can make a small upgrade slot, meaning you can add free storage capacity. There is also a large version, I can't see. Here it is, the big slot upgrade, adding it by 7. And these go on the left. And now you can see the blue slots all the way up to here. I can add a second one, and then a third one. And if you have all 3 in here, you can use all of the slots available in here. And these go in the left, as you can see there. Meaning I can get tons and tons of storage for all my output. Then we've got these 4 slots here, which will upgrade things. Like we've got the milk extractor for cows, which will extract milk from them. If you don't use this, it will just get meat and things like that from the cow. I've got a speed enhancement, which will speed up how quickly it does it. So I could put some of those in there. It is only one per slot. You can't add a stack of them. And there is a creative version as well. There's also a creative mob catcher if you want to test things out. Loot enhancement enhances the quality of loot collected from the mob farm. A luck enchantment for rarer drops. There is no flowers. If you've got things like bees, it will say no flowers, please. Or no meat. Like if you want from this cow only to get leather, you could put a no meat one in here. Now you'll notice that the no meat one doesn't go in here. That's because the filters ones go in the right-hand slot. So upgrades to the efficiency or what products you're getting go in here, but filtering things out like no flowers or no meat would go in the filter slots on the right. One huge thing you may have noticed are these beautiful capture cards for the mod as well. You will also notice they don't have any recipes and they come in different rarities. TLDR, pretty simple. These will drop from mobs, or you can get some of them by fishing. Meaning, let's say the Wither Skeleton card here could drop from a mob, and it's an epic rarity. So I do believe that you can get these from any mob. Like I could be out killing cows and get the Wither Skeleton card, I believe. And it's obviously of an epic rarity, whereas the Guardian is only rare. What you could do if you do get one of these cards is you could simply take your Wither Skeleton capture card, for example, pick it up and just plop it straight in to the machine here. And without having to actually capture a Wither Skeleton, you've then got your Wither Skeleton capture card. Very, very easy. And now, of course, we are getting mob drops from our Wither Skeletons. And you could also just collect these if you wish.
Yeah, it's called Easy Mob Farm, but it got really convoluted really quickly. I was expecting it to be quite a bit easier. I mean, it's still easy, don't get me wrong, but keep that on the back burner. Maybe see if I can add that in.
This here is the Pretty Pipes mod for Minecraft. It can be very simple or very complex depending on what you want to do with it, but one thing is certain, it's very, very helpful. So we're going to start off looking at the pipes. Pipes. Very easy to make. As you can see, there's only one tier of pipe. There is an add-on mod, Pretty Pipes Fluids, as well, which I'm including in this tutorial. I'm going to set up 2 chests, or 3 chests even. One to here, and one to here. I'm then going to connect these pipes to the chests. If I wanted to change this, I could make a pipe wrench as shown. And what I can do is right-click this pipe attachment to the chest to stop it from connecting to the chest. I right-click it again, and it connects it. I shift right-click, and it breaks it completely. I place it down, it automatically connects. What I can also do is use an item in my elf hand, birch planks and now elf hand. I then right-click with the pipe wrench, and it uses the birch plank. It does actually use it up, and it uses it as a pipe cover. So there's still a pipe under here, but you just can't see it because I've covered it. Shift right-click to take off the birch plank, and it won't take off the pipe. You have to shift right-click again to take off the pipe itself. So just remember, keep them in your offhand and right-click with the pipe wrench to add covers. Cool. So now, let's start looking at taking out of inventories, placing into inventories, and filtering. So what we could do is, if I right-click on this pipe, nothing happens. If I right-click on a piece of pipe that is attached to an inventory, it opens an interface. And this is where we can put all these filters that you see in JEI here. I'm going to be using birch planks as my example right now. So we have a low extraction module. Hold shift for more info. Pulls items from inventories, okay? The high extraction, medium extraction are going to extract a lot faster. I'm just going to use a high extraction because I can. We have 3 filter slots here, well, 3 module slots I should call them. I'm going to put my high extraction module in. You can then see there's another tab called high extraction module. I'm going to say birch planks. This means it will only extract birch planks from that chest. You can say all sides north chest, and the reason it says only north chest is because there's another chest. If I actually connected this one here, remember, you're adding modules to this piece of pipe, meaning I can say chest north or west chest, because this pipe is now attached to 2 different inventories. So do I want to extract birch planks from all sides, or just from one side? Obviously here it doesn't matter, because now it's only attached to one side anyway. Do I want to allow or disallow that? So for example, right now I'm saying disallow birch planks from being extracted. I put in birch planks, nothing happens. But everything else I put in is all going to get extracted into the nearest inventory by default, which is this chest here. So if I say allow, then only the items shown are being extracted, and there go the birch planks, as you just saw. So quite simple, you can, filter on what you want to extract. Now, I've just shift-clicked the pipe there, and the module has come out, and you may think, oh, for God's sake, have I lost all my settings? I've right-clicked it back in. No, you have not lost your settings. They are kept when you take the modules out. I actually forgot to tell you that, but the fact that they popped out reminded me to tell you about that feature, which I think is hilarious. Okay, cool. So we now are extracting out only birch planks from this chest. But how do we know, maybe we want it to go into this chest and not that chest? What we could do is then use the opposite of an extraction module, a retrieval module. The retrieval module, I'm going to plug into that one, just right-click into there. I'm going to say furnaces, meaning I want you to retrieve furnaces from other inventories in this chest. So if I put a furnace in here, rather than extracting from this chest, it's being retrieved by this chest. And you may think, well, is that the same thing as an extraction module? No, because an extraction module is extracting from a specific chest, meaning you're only extracting, in that example, furnaces from this chest. A retrieval module in this chest is saying, take furnaces from wherever you can get them. If there's a furnace in here, a furnace in there, it will come out of the chest into this one without the need for an extraction module. So if you're retrieving to one specific place, use a retrieval. If you're extracting from a specific place, use an extraction. Now we're going to look at filters. So we then have the filter module, low filter module, medium filter module, high filter module. So what this does is, and this is interesting, I'm going to put this onto this chest here, filter int module. As you can see, loads of different slots. I'm going to say birch planks, allow. So same black list and white list. What you can also do is populate filter slots with items from adjacent inventories. Let's say that there was stripped acacia wood and birch planks in here. I go onto the high filter module, press populate, and it's going to basically then put that stripped acacia wood in the filter slot. It's saying whatever is in this attached inventory, that is what I want the filter to be. So I'm saying birch planks are allowed. Then what I could do is get another filter module and put it onto this one and say disallow birch planks. So on my extract module for birch planks, what's going to happen is that this one is disallowed, but this one is allowed, meaning birch planks will only go into this chest. Oh, they came out. Why did they come out? Oh, I think it was an issue with the retrieval module there. I've taken it out and just with the filter module in, it's working. So just be careful with mixing things up there. I'm going to get too complex. As you can see, they've now gone into this chest because I'm allowing birch planks. Otherwise, I was trying to go to the nearest place. And maybe you're going to say, well, actually, in fact, I was going to talk about priorities, but one step before that, on your filter modules, we can also add some extra things. A filter increase modifier, a tag filter modifier, a damage filter modifier, a data filter modifier, and a mod filter modifier. So the filter increase modifier. If I already have a filter module in, I can add this in, and it basically increases the slots you have available for your filter. So this filter here is working off whatever this filter says for allowed or disallowed, but it's increasing the slots. I could also add a tag filter modifier, and it will actually allow you to click from the tags that are in your current filter, like acacia logs, logs. So I could say it could be logs that burn, meaning if I click logs, it's going to allow all logs in through the filter rather than just these items. It'll be all logs. Same with damage filter. It causes any filter slots to filter by item damage. So if you had a specific item here with damage on it, it would filter by that. Data filter causes any filter slots to filter by item data, which is NBT tags, like iron ores and stuff, or mod filter. If I put a mechanism item in the filter, for example, and I took these two out, I've got a mod filter in here, I put a creative energy cube in. If I put in my basic crushing machine, well, it's not extracting, is it? Because the extraction module is only extracting birch planks. There's no retrieval module. So although it's filtering it, it's not going anywhere. Because we're saying only mechanism can go into this pipe, but nothing's actually sending it. So on my high extraction module, I'm going to delete the birch plank and set it to disallow, so the filter is cleared, and it's gone into the wrong chest. Well, why is that? Because I'm only disallowing birch planks. It's still going to go to the nearest inventory. So I'm actually going to change this to allow on here and say birch planks only, please. And then what we'll see is that it's still going to go out, but it'll go to here instead, because we're only allowing birch planks in here. So you can see it can get a bit confusing. You just kind of troubleshoot it as you go along. So I put the creative energy cube in there, and it's allowed, but because I have the mod filter, anything from the mechanism mod will be allowed. Now finally, regarding filtering, what if we have that similar issue that just happened, but actually I want them both to be allowed, so only disallow birch planks, but maybe I want to say, I want this chest to be a priority. But if this chest is full, I'm fine for my mechanism items to go here. What I could then do is add a priority module. This simply increases the reception priority of adjacent inventories. A higher priority means I prefer that inventory regardless of distance. So now, if I put this in here, because remember I've put the birch planks to disallow, so allow everything but birch planks. Now when I put it in here, the mechanism item, this one's the closest and it's allowed in here, but it's going to go to this one, because this one has a higher priority. Whereas if I took this one out and done the same one again, what you're then going to see is it's going to go into this one, because there's no priority, it's just going to go to the closest one. So that is using filters, extraction modules, retrieval modules, and also priority modules.
Okay.
So we've got some other things on here. One of them is, of course, the lowest priority, which just does the opposite of the high priority. We have a pipe frame, which is interesting. I can just place it on a pipe like this, and then, let's say, iron ore. I can just right click it with iron ore, and it will tell me there's 38 iron ore in the system. So it just literally tells you that. Redstone module allows disabling the pipe of redstone signal. So I can put it onto here, and then have a lever to disable or enable that pipe, pulling items out or not. Random sorting causes the extracted items to choose destinations randomly, and it will ignore priority modules. Round robin causes the extracted items to choose destinations in round robin, so it'll go to here, here, and then here. Now the thing with round robin is, remember, it's not going to forcibly extract them, it's just going to round robin them. There's speed increase, it's like zoom out of inventories faster, and a stack limiter, which you can add so that you can say, I only want 10 items going into this inventory, for example, and it won't request any more. Now this is where we get the more complex, exciting things. There's a pipe pressurizer. So this mod doesn't add any power generation, but if you do have power generation, we can add to the pipe pressurizer with some power, and once you've got the pipe pressurizer, it'll speed things up in your pipes, it'll go a lot faster when they're whizzing around. Now we can go on to the terminals, and this does include auto crafting. So we have the item terminal. Oh my god, look how quickly they go, whizzing around like lunatics. Now you'll see here, it can only be connected to a single pipe at a time. Make sure that it only has one connection, like here. If I move this because it's a bit messed up, there we go. Now I can access it. It has to only be connected to one pipe, not more. So basically in here, I can request items. I can see the attached inventories. Like for example, I can see the 64 batch logs in here. I can't just pull these out like if you played Applied Logistics. I'd have to request them, and it'll request them from the storage. Now because I've got the pipe pressurizer, it was very fast, and I can take out these batch logs. I can also put them back in to the input slot here, and it'll go into the system. So we can also upgrade it into a crafting terminal. This is where it gets really interesting. The crafting terminal, what I could do is, let's say I want to make a door. So I can see I've got my birch planks in the system. In JEI down here, I go door, I click on the birch door, and I press the plus item, and it gives me the items here, and I press request. It requests the birch planks to this crafting terminal, and I can take out the doors. If I want, I press request again, it sends 6 birch planks, and I can actually take out the birch planks as well. You don't have to make a door if you change your mind, you can take out the birch planks like this, and put them back in here. So you can request crafting recipes like that. Not as good as Applied Logistics, but it's quite a simple thing here. Now, the question here, can you do auto crafting? Yes, you can. The machine it goes to, like for instance, I'm using a furnace here. So you may know that furnaces are sided. You put your fuel in the sides. So I would say in this side one, what I should have in here is a request module for coal. On the bottom is your output. That's where your iron ingots would go. And on the top is where you put the iron ore. So in this top one, I'm saying a filter for iron. That's not quite right. I don't want to put iron ingots in there. I'm going to put iron ore in there. I'm going to say filter iron ore. And I've got a crafting module. And what I'm saying in that crafting module is iron ore equals iron ingots. So iron ore equals iron ingots. And on the bottom one, I have just a pipe, and it's extracting the iron because I think I've got a retrieval module. Yeah, I've got a high retrieval module with iron ingots. So the iron ingots are going to get pulled from the furnace into the chest. So if I take out this iron ore, I put it all in here, you can see here, what I can say in the crafting terminal is I can go iron ingot, request me 1 iron ingot. And it's going to send the iron ore, as you can see here, into the furnace to give me the iron ingot. Now, it is going to this one because I've got a high retrieval one in there. So you need to be careful with your priorities. You might want to put a priority filter for the crafting terminal because 2 places are requesting iron ingots. But again, I can say request 10 iron ingots. And it's going to send 10 iron ore into the furnace because it's saying, it thinks correctly, that iron ore equals an iron ingot. And then it gets extracted from the bottom. So you can use this for auto crafting. And there you go. That is a pretty pipes. I did say I would show you the fluid bit, but honestly, fluid pipe, you have a fluid limiter, fluid extraction, fluid filter, fluid retrieval. It's pretty much the exact same, but with fluids on tanks. And that's everything you need to know for the Pretty Pipes mod. I hope you did enjoy the video. Click that subscribe button if you did, and of course leave.
Okay, cool.
This is refined storage. If you've played Applied Logistics, this is much simpler. I'm going to be taking you through absolutely everything you could need to know about the mod to get you up and running from start to finish without any waffle, and this is much simpler than it would appear. Refined storage is a lot simpler and beginner-friendly than Applied Logistics is. So if you don't like channels or anything like that, or you just want to have a storage system where you can just store stuff and get stuff done without all the complexities of super crazy networking, refined storage will be for you. So the first item you're going to want to make with a refined storage network, because that's how it works as a combined network, will be the controller. This is the CPU, or the brains, if you will, of the operation. So I'm just going to remake this kind of here. So when you place down a controller, it could be anywhere, it will look like this. It looks like it's turned off. You need to power it. So I'm going to use a mechanism to power my refined storage controller. I can put a creative energy cube next to it, and now it's powered. As you can see, I can right-click into the controller and see that it is using nothing out of X amount of energy. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start hooking up some cables, okay? So you literally just connect it like this, any side. It can connect to all sides of the controller for your network. Anything that I now connect to this will be on this specific network, whereas this over here is a separate network. So I'm going to place these cables down, and then the next thing you're going to want to actually store your stuff is probably a disk drive. Imagine this is like a server rack or a hard drive rack where you could literally just put in drives. Now, one thing you're using a lot of in refined storage are these processors. This one for the disk drive requires an advanced processor, which requires you to smelt up a raw advanced processor, which is made as seen. There's a few different processors, they're all made as I've just shown you. So I'm going to add the disk drive onto my cable here. I then right-click into it, and you can see it has slots for 8 disks. For example, this 64K storage disk I can put in here, and now you can see on the top left it has a disk in it. On the left hand here, we can see it's a 0 out of 64,000. That is how many items the 64,000 disk can store. If you're used to Applied Logistics, you may wonder, is there a types of item limit? No, there's not. If you don't know what that means, then don't worry. I'm just explaining it for the people who are wondering. So you can basically store in this disk 64,000 items. So the way that you make this is either with a 64K storage cell, part, and some quartz enriched iron, shown as iron quartz, and some other bits. A 64K storage part is made with 3 16K storage parts and some advanced processors. A 16K is made from 3 4K storage parts, and 1 4K storage part is made from 3 1K storage part. And then you make that with silicon, which you just get by smelting up metal quartz. So you can kind of see how 3 1Ks equal 1 4K, 3 4Ks equal 16K, 3 16Ks equal 64K, and there are add-on mods as well that add even higher tiers should you want them. What you can also do, rather than using a 64K storage disk, if you don't want to use drives, is make a 64K storage block. And what I can do there is just place down a 64K storage block, right-click into it, and you can see it says 0 out of 64K. I personally would use a disk drive because I can add 8 into here, rather than having have to have 8 of these all going across. So disk drive, in my opinion, is a lot easier to store things efficiently. But how do we access those items? Well, there's a few ways. One simple way is going to be some sort of crafting grid, as you can see here. A crafting grid is made with an advanced processor and a grid. A grid, I will show you the difference in a second. So a crafting grid. So a grid shows you all of the items in here. Let's say I want to put in here 64 dirt, right? I can literally just go into the grid, shift-click it in, and now, when we go over to our drive, you can see there are 64 items in the 64K storage cell. That is because this grass is now in the network. So imagine the grid is your Windows, your Mac OS, and that's how you're accessing it through your monitor, with a keyboard, etc. Whereas the disk drive is actually the hard drive. You can't just go and access a hard drive or put things in or out of it without actually using an interface like your monitor on your PC, for example. And that is how I would say to imagine this setup here. A crafting grid, however, is the same as a grid, but you can actually craft inside of it as well, as seen here. So what are all these buttons on the left? We have the size, which changes how it kind of looks. Depending on the UI, it may not really work very well with that, depending on the screen. Search box mode, normal, auto-selected, JEI synchronized. So JEI synchronized means if I type down here in JEI, does it only work one way? Yes. If I type in the crafting grid, it will also type it in JEI. So if I go at refined, it will then take up all the refined storage items. We have the sorting types. I can sort by quantity, by name, by ID, by last modified. So that's in here. So if I put it in here, if I search by last modified, obviously it's the combiner. If I search by quantity, it's the grass blocks. Sorting direction, descending or ascending. Don't want the lowest quality or the highest quantity. Display, normal or no craftables, only craftables. That's showing you the items you can craft in here. That's going to be with auto crafting, which we can't quite do in this small setup. And then redstone signal. We can also scroll. We can say rotate the grid, to balance it out or clear this crafting grid if you wish. And there's a few slots for upgrades in here, which I'll be going through at a different point, depending on if you're watching the ultimate guide or not. So in the disk drive, we also have a few options: redstone mode, items, or fluids, because it can store fluids in here. There is actually fluid disks here, so you can import in, for example, water and store 64,000 buckets of, 64,000 buckets of water, for example. You can change it to items or fluids in this disk drive. Blacklist or whitelist. That's what this filter is at the top here. So I can say grass in here, and now when I go into my grid, you can see I can't actually put in my 64K storage block because good golly. Because even though there's other items already in the storage disk, I've now whitelisted it to only grass. So anything in this disk drive, I can no longer add anything else that is not a grass block. But you'll see I can put grass in there, but this one will not go in because it's whitelisted. I can also change it to blacklist or blacklist anything at the top here. I can also add a priority. The higher the priority, the higher the priority. Meaning if I had another disk drive here that was 0 priority with loads of disks, and then this one had a priority of 1. When I'm putting anything into the grid here, it will always fill up this one first because it has a higher priority. Exact mode is like if you have durability on items and things like that, or maybe like bees and anything that is like the same item but has different attributes. That's what exact mode would be when you're filtering and things. And then access type, do you want to be only able to insert into these disks, only extract out of them, or maybe insert and extract? Maybe you've got them full of cobblestone and you're like, you know what, I don't want any more cobblestone going into here, and I'm just going to put it to extract only, so they're kind of using up until these disks are empty. But that sounds like a really tedious way to do that with your disks, right? So let's talk about an easier way that you can insert and extract from different disks altogether. And that's going to be the disk manipulator. So what I've got set up in here is some speed upgrades. Very simply made. You can also use stack upgrades, so it can take out stacks at a time much quicker. Using speed upgrades on their own makes it faster, but adding a stack upgrade will actually put it out stacks at a time, so that paired with speed upgrades would be really good. Just a little FYI there. So the disk manipulator, same kind of filters on the left, we have an in and an out. So in this 64K storage disk, I have in here oak logs and grass blocks. So in this one, I think that's the grass. Yes. So you can see if I can take the disk out, and the grass stays in there. The grass is in the crafting grid. I take out the grass with the storage disk. Now the grass is not in the network. But what I can then do is go into a disk manipulator, and I can say, do I want to extract from the network or insert to the network? I can take the 64K storage disk with the grass in, and I can press in, and what you'll see is that the stored amount is going down because it's inserting into the network. So I'm inserting from this disk into the network. I've actually whitelisted grass, but I don't need to. And now this disk is empty. And now the grass is in here, and it'll be in this disk instead. Maybe I want to say extract from the network. I want to put my whole network into this 64K storage disk. So I put it in, and what you'll see is nothing is happening because it's on whitelist. So when it's on whitelist, it expects a list, and therefore nothing's happening. If you move it to blacklist, you'll see that all the items are coming out because we're blacklisting nothing. You could say when it's on whitelist, we're whitelisting nothing, but it's just not how the system works. So that's that really. Just a little annoyance I feel like would trick a lot of people. I might think, why is this not working? But yeah, that's why. And if I try and put this in again, it'll just flip to the out slot because it's saying extract from network. Well, the network is now empty, so it's immediately finished its operation. And that's how you can input and output from different disks using the disk manipulator. Before we get any further, I'll let you know that I'm partnering up with Gportal here to give you 10% off your first month with them. They do also the constructor, and then also the importer and the exporter. So, first off, the destructor. As you can see, it is piped up to the network, and it will destroy anything in front of it. So if we go into my grid here, we can see that I have 87 grass blocks in the system. If I place a grass block in front of the destructor, as you can see, it's destroying it. But now when I go into the grid, there's 91 in here. So basically what is happening is it's destroying or breaking whatever block is in front of it, and it's putting it into the network. So you may have something being placed in front of it, with a farm, etc., and then it's going to break and absorb that into the network. Again, you can blacklist and whitelist, exact mode. And one really cool thing is, do we want to pick up items instead of breaking? No, I'm going to turn it to yes. Meaning, if I just drop the grass in front of it, it's going to pick up the items in front of it rather than breaking items in front of it. The opposite of this is the constructor. And by the way, you can put filters into here. And with the destructor, you can also make a silk touch upgrade and a fortune upgrade. There's actually 3 different fortune upgrades, as in fortune 1, fortune 2, and fortune 3, and a filter. We then have the constructor, which will, using a filter, and this one really doesn't need a filter. I'm going to put grass blocks in here, and then it's going to place grass blocks. If I break it, it places another one. I break it, it places another one. You can even have a destructor opposite and a constructor in front. Maybe if there's an item that you want to, I don't know, maybe you have a quarry that's mining ores, and then you want to then place the ores and then break them with fortune 3 using a destructor. I don't know, just an example. And the same as the destructor, we could say drop blocks instead of placing. And as you can see, it's going to basically throw them out rather than placing the blocks. And you can do this with redstone signal, etc. as well. Items, fluids, it can do whatever you want with speed upgrades. Then we have the importer and exporter. Very similar. The importer is going to import from an item it's attached to. In this instance, it's this chest. I put in 35 grass blocks in here, and as you can see, it's importing them from the chest into the system. If you ever get confused, remember that you're importing or exporting from the network, not the item it's attached to. So the importer is importing into the network from the item here, the chest. It'll work with furnaces. It'll work with literally any machine you could possibly think of, and it's a fantastic way to automate your farms. One thing you can do in here is obviously filter it as well. I can filter grass blocks, meaning when I put, blacklist, whitelist even. When I put this item in here, it's not whitelisted. Only grass will be imported, for example. And then the exporter does the exact opposite. I could put grass in here, and it's going to be exporting grass into the chest. Now you'll notice here it doesn't have a whitelist or blacklist. It won't do anything without a filter, and that's the exporter. And that's how you can export and import into your refined storage network using constructors, importers, and exporters. Once you've got a pretty basic network set up of refined storage, you might be asking yourself, what about auto-crafting? Well, it's a lot simpler than you might originally think. So you're going to need a few things. This here is a basic auto-crafting setup. This one here is going to automate the furnace and also automate crafting recipes like making oak logs into planks. So you're going to need a crafting monitor, a pattern grid, some crafters, and some patterns. And patterns look like this. That's pretty much all you need. If you do want to be doing stuff with like furnaces, you may need some exporters and importers as well. So how do we get started? First, I want you to place down a pattern grid, as seen here. Right-click into the pattern grid, and what you'll see is this here. So you can import and export into this network here using the grid. So this 64 grass blocks, I can click them in to add them into my network. It does work like a crafting grid. But what you'll see here is a crafting grid, and this crafting grid isn't for crafting. What you'll see is a processing and an exact button. I'm going to go over that a bit later. So let's say here that I want to make doors. I want to make oak doors, okay? You can see in here I've got oak logs in my inventory or in the network. I click on the oak logs and I place one in the middle here. It could be in, it doesn't matter which slot. I'll place it in the middle because I'm a control freak. And you can see it says, it recognizes that oak logs equals 4 oak planks. I then get a pattern. I put it into this slot here. I press create. It has now created a pattern with 4 oak planks. What I do is I take that pattern out and I then go into a crafter, which I've placed down and connected to my network. When I go into my inventory, whether I'm in a crafter or not, what you can see here is I have the pattern, and all of these patterns look the same. If you press shift on your keyboard, it will show you what the patterns are. So these two next to each other, for selecting all patterns, I press shift, and I can then see it says pattern, inputs 1 oak log, outputs 4 oak planks, 1 iron ore equals 1 iron ingot, for example. So I'm going to take the oak planks pattern and put it into the crafter here. We can then see it has a pattern for oak planks. If I then go back into my pattern grid, you can see that oak planks says craft, whereas everything else says how many I've got of them. So I could go into my crafting grid, or the pattern grid, doesn't matter, but what I'm trying to show you is that you can go into any grid on the network, and I can press craft oak planks. I would like 12 oak planks, please. Start. Crafting preview, to craft 12 oak planks, available, 3 oak logs. That's how many you're going to need for it. Start. And as you can see, it has made me 12 oak planks. Now let's do that again. Let's take out those oak planks and press craft. I want 128 because I want to go over to the crafting monitor here and show you this is where you can monitor your oak planks being made. And I can cancel all and cancel that request. It's already made some, so obviously those are already done. I can cancel them if I wish. And that's in the crafting monitor. Sometimes you may have, due to user error or just bugs in the system, get recipes that are stuck, and you will need a crafting monitor to go in and cancel them, especially for troubleshooting why something isn't working. So the pattern grid is where you make the patterns. The crafter is where you actually put them in to be made. That's the kind of the brain of the operation. And the crafting monitor is where you see the requests currently going through the system. So what about if I want to automate it, not just using, well, actually, no, one step further. Let's go, okay, I want to turn the oak planks then into doors. So I go doors, I put a pattern in, create 3 oak doors. Now let's say, let's put that recipe in here for the doors in the crafter. Now, you can see here I have no oak planks or doors. The answer is yes, I can say, make me 3 doors, and it will say, I'm going to craft the planks, and then I'm going to craft them into doors. So it will do multi-step, which is what's so cool about auto-crafting. Start, and it'll make the planks, obviously we've got 2 left over, because it can't make them exact, if that makes sense, and we've got 3 oak doors. Now let's move on to processing recipes. So what I've got here is an automated furnace setup. I'm going to just recreate it for you, because it might be easier to explain. So I'm going to go into my pattern grid, and I'm going to use iron ingots as an example. And as you can see on our network, we have 63 iron ore. I'm going to place in here iron ore, tick processing, sorry, and then place iron ore. And can you see that it says 63? Well, I only want to use 1, so what I can do here is click on the iron ore, minus 64, and press set. 1 iron ore equals 1 iron ingot, and it's a processing recipe. And then put in the pattern, create, and there we go. It says 1 iron ore equals 1 iron ingot. Now I don't put it into this crafter here. What I actually need to do is place down my furnace, because this is where the crafting is going to happen, and then I'm going to click a crafter on top of it. Hook it up to the network, and can you see this black dot? You can kind of see that it's pointing this way. What I want to do is face it down into the furnace. And I'm going to do that with a refined storage wrench. So I get the wrench and I right click it until it's facing down, because that's the way it's going to input into the furnace. Now, one thing, and I think the biggest thing that you're going to do wrong with processing recipes is the sides of machines. Some people don't know this, but furnaces are sided. You input your iron ore into the top, your fuels go into the sides, and you output the resulting recipe from the bottom of the furnace. So I'm inputting the iron ore into the top. So I'm going to take my iron ore pattern and put that into the recipes for the furnace crafter. And when I click on the crafter, you notice it says furnace, so you know that it is actually putting these recipes into the furnace. What I'm also going to do to fully automate it is put an exporter onto the side of the furnace. And that is going to export coal from my system to make sure that the furnace is always fueled. And then on the bottom of the furnace, what you would put in is an importer to import the final product into the network when it's done. So again, I've made a pattern with processing, iron ore equals 1 iron ingot. I put that pattern into the furnace crafter, pointing into the furnace in the top. The exporter going into the side of the furnace, I have coal blocks. So I'm going to say blocks of coal, export from the system. There you go, the coal is going in, and that'll keep that topped up as long as it's in my network. And then the importer, because the bottom of the furnace only is for the finished goods, I don't need to whitelist or blacklist it, because it's only going to take out of this slot. Obviously, some machines that may not be sided like this, you may need to whitelist or blacklist. So what I can then do is go into my pattern grid, take out the iron ingot I've got, put in the iron ore, and I can say craft 10 iron ingots, start. Available 10 iron ore to craft 10 iron ingots, start. And what's going to happen is the crafter is going to push in the iron ore, as you can see here. The exporter is exporting blocks of coal to make sure that it's fully topped up on coal. And as you can see, the iron ore has disappeared because the importer is importing the iron ingots into the system. And there we go. You've automated making ingots. Now, one other thing you could do in here is when you're making a pattern, I can click on it on the iron ore, and it says alternatives. If I click this, you could, it's actually really clever. You can see here, I could tick forge ores. And what I can basically do with this is it will do all ores. Every single ore in the mod, or the mod pack, it's then just going to do apply, set. And now this iron ore recipe is actually just going to do all forge ores. So it's one recipe for all ores. So you can actually automate all of your ore processing just like that. It is so, so clever and so much simpler than applied logistics. I love applied logistics, but I like to keep things simple with my crafting and my storage, hence why I use refined storage. Now you can put into the crafters speed upgrades, stack upgrades, etc. to make them faster. And one thing I also want to say is if you are making your own mod pack, and a lot of mod packs will already include these, is add-on mods like extra storage. You have an iron crafter, slots of patterns 27. You've got a gold crafter, slots of patterns 45 or 63, and never write one of 81 pattern slots of 125 speed. So it's a lot faster at crafting, and you've got tons of pattern slots in here. This is the extra storage mod. So always look if you've got add-on mods installed for refined storage, because they're so, so useful. But that is how you do crafting and auto-crafting in refined storage. If you actually just wanted to make sure that you're always having your iron ore turned into iron ingots, you don't need to really bother with a crafter. You could literally just have an exporter on the top for iron ore, so that it's always pushing iron ore into the furnace, and then an importer on the bottom to take out the iron ingots, so you're always requesting them. And that would be that basically. What if, however, you want to be a bit more advanced with keeping items in somewhere? So in this furnace, I would have 64 blocks of coal, but what if I didn't have much coal available? It's early game. What I can do in my exporter is add a regulator upgrade. So what I can do with a regulator upgrade is put it in here, and then if I click on the block of coal here, I can say 10 and set. And what's going to happen is you can see here the exporter set to 10 blocks of coal, regulator upgrade in here, it will only keep it at 10. I take one out, it puts it back to 10. Whereas if I take the regulator upgrade out, you can no longer click on the block of coal to set the amount. So I put the regulator upgrade in, then you can middle click on the item and set how many you want to keep in that storage. Now, what if, obviously coal is a bad example, but what if you said, well, I want to actually keep X amount in the system, but we need to craft it. Maybe you run out of coal and you have a way of crafting, block coal into blocks of coal, for example. What you could do is add a crafting upgrade in here. And the crafting upgrade will say, if I have a recipe, let's say in this crafter, for blocks of coal, made of 9 coal, it would then make the blocks of coal itself in this crafter and then put them into the furnace. So it's saying, if I don't have any blocks of coal in my inventory, just craft it. Obviously, you would need a pattern with the crafting recipe for blocks of coal in a crafter somewhere ready to be made. But that is how you would basically regulate the items going in or out of the system with regulator upgrades and actually auto-crafting them using the auto-crafting setup. So you've built a really storage network, and it is looking good, let me tell you. But what you want to access it wirelessly, or you want to extend it wirelessly over your gargantuan base. Well, there's a few.
I already know. Okay. This is a new one.
I'm going to show you everything you need to know to do the Mahoo to Sky mod in Minecraft. This is
Mahoo
going to
to
include
Sky?
in how
That's
to
how you
use
say that?
spells, how to make them, how to get started, and how to get every single weapon in the mod. If you're not familiar with the mod, it has some really cool weapons that you can make, and Mahoo to Sky means wizard or witch in Japanese. I do believe it's also related to some anime shows or something. I'm not quite sure. Do comment below and educate me if you do. So, the first thing you need to actually do is draw some circles on the ground using your own blood. You can either get attacked by a mob, any mob, like a zombie, and you'll get the bleeding effect, or you can make a dagger, as shown here, right-click with the dagger, and you will get the bleeding effect for about 15 seconds. Shift and M for Mike on the floor will then make a Muhujin, which is your blood circle on the ground.
Mahujin.
What you'll also then notice on the top left of your screen is it says Mahoo. Yours will say 100 out of 100. Mine is going feral at the moment because of the sort of next chapter in this guide I've already filmed. So I'll be explaining to you how to thoroughly and quickly increase your Mahoo, which is what mine is doing up there. So keep watching for that. So first you're going to need a few instruments. You are going to need a mortar and pestle, made with a pestle and mortar. These are made really, really simply. You also can use a hammer, really early game if you don't have diamonds, but it will be less effective. Like if I want to make powdered diamond, a hammer gives me 1, whereas the mortar and pestle gives me 2. So first of all, how do we make spells? Well, I've already shown you about making a Mahujin on the ground, and I would really recommend you do it with a dagger, because you're going to be using this every time you want to do a spell. So let's do a spell, shall we? I'm going to do a really interesting one called the Enclosure Boundary. This uses free powdered iron, and these are known as the free catalysts for this spell. Every spell uses free catalysts. So what I do is I will use my dagger, shift and press M on the ground, and then I'll get free powdered iron. You'll see in the Mahoo to Sky mod that there is powdered diamond, emerald, ender, not ender eye, there's ender and there's eye, powdered gold and iron and quartz. So these are all the different catalysts you'll be using. We are using free iron. So you right click your iron, 1, 2, 3. And sometimes the boundary will automatically start swirling around, sometimes it will need right clicking with an empty hand. Now the one I just used didn't really do anything, I think because I'm super flat and it's not really meant for that. So I'm going to show you a different one, and that's the displacement boundary. It does explain to you what all the spells do in the book. So if you go into the book here, which you can make pretty easily, you can see here it says alarm boundary, displacement boundary, and it goes through them all in here. These are all the different spells you can make. If you want to have a look at them, then I would just read through them. I'm not going to explain all in here to waste of time. So I'm going to do this displacement boundary, where it teleports entities that attempt to enter the range of the boundary to the other side of the boundary. And it will drain 1 mana from the caster every 5 seconds. And that's what you have up top left, that's your mana. And that's 2 iron and 1 ender. So 2 iron, 1 ender. I then right click with an empty hand to activate it. You can just simply break this if you don't want to have it anymore. And then when entities try and come into this 10 by 10 radius around here, they'll get teleported to the other side. And that's it, your spell's complete. But what if you want to make a spell into a scroll? Well, you make some spell cloth with some wool and your dagger, and you place it on the ground. You then use your dagger, and then you shift M on top of the cloth. Sometimes it'll go next to it, so make sure you're kind of properly on it, or not on it even, but just be careful. It should go on top like this. And then I can do it again, iron, iron, and then ender, and I right click it, and it goes into a scroll instead. And then I can just use the scroll whenever I want, and it will place it down onto the floor, and then it will place that boundary there. So you don't have to do it where you intend to do it. You can put the spell cloth down first, and then do your spell. But that's actually how you do your spells in Mahoo to Sky. And there's quite a lot of spells that you're going to want to be using. One way that you can actually store mana is in these attuned diamonds. So you make a tuner, then you can make a tuned diamond or emerald. And if you look at the top left, you can see I've got 300 mana. I can just right click this diamond. And as you can see here, I've now stored 300 mana in here. So a lot of your spells are going to drain mana. And a good way to store mana, so you've got loads more available to you, is through an attuned emerald or diamond. But the next thing we're going to look at is how do we increase our mana cap? Because as you can see, my mana cap is at 334, and it's going to be now it's 335, and it's going to be slowly but surely going up faster and faster. Well, actually at the same speed. See now it's 336. TLDR, when you're spending and generating mana, you are actually going to be increasing your cap of mana. And I'm going to show you the best way of actually generating that cap semi-passively. Before we get any further, I'll let you know that I'm partnering up with G-Portal here to give you 10% off your first month with them. They do all sorts of Minecraft servers, whether you want modded, if that's how you pronounce the mod, is going to be mana. As you can see on the top left of my screen here, I'm gaining and spending mana at a reasonable rate. I'm going to show you an insanely easy way of getting your mana up quickly. All you're going to need is 2 emeralds and 1 diamond for the durability exchange. Now this is scalable, so you can do this as many times as you want, but for each kind of round, this is what you'll need. 2 emeralds, 1 diamond for the durability exchange, and then 2 iron and 1 diamond for the boundary of life drain. Then you're just going to need some tools. They do not have to be diamond. I would recommend that you do use a tool with a higher durability, but not unbreakable, and therefore diamond or netherite if you can would be even better. I wouldn't really recommend netherite because of how you make it, whereas we can make tons of shovels like this very quickly in a crafting table. Shovels are better than pickaxes and things like that because a pickaxe uses 3 diamonds, a shovel only uses 1, for example. And you can do it with iron if you've got an iron farm. You know, if you're late at game and you've got loads of diamonds, absolutely, of course, this is better, but iron will be absolutely fine too, and even stone would be as well. But you'll just burn through these much quicker. So what we need to do is get a chest and place it down, and then use your dagger from Mahoo to Sky, right-click it so you're bleeding, and shift an M on top of the chest like this, okay? You're then going to make 2 powdered emerald and 1 powdered diamond using either a mortar and pestle or a hammer. And a mortar and pestle will be better because it gives you 2 rather than 1. Right-click it onto your Mahujin, 1, 2, and a diamond, and it starts going. What this is going to do is it's going to drain the durability of all of your gear in this chest. And as you can see at the top left, it is going to be recharging your Mahoo. Now what you could do manually is make an attuned diamond. This is something that you can use as an emerald as well, but the emerald isn't as good. You can just right-click it to store up all of your Mahoo. And the way Mahoo works is that the more that you generate and use, the higher your limit gets. So your limit starts at 100, and as I'm using and generating it, it's now going up to 119, and in a minute as I'm talking, you'll notice it'll go up to 120. And this will happen naturally as you're using and spending it. So there you go, it's got to 120 limit. So this chest here, has got all this diamond shovels in, and it's sapping the durability and then breaking them in order to generate Mahoo. But then how am I spending my Mahoo? Well, I'm using a boundary of life drain. This is actually a mob farm, well, not technically mob farm. Well, it is actually. The boundary of drain life slowly drains health from nearby mobs in a range of 10. For every health drained, health, hunger, or mana is restored to the caster in that order. It drains 5 mana from the caster every 1 second, and you are the caster. And this one is to be 2 iron and 1 emerald. So what you're going to do is again use the dagger, put down a circle, 2 iron, right click it in, and 1 emerald, and then just right click it, and then you've got 2 of them going. What I'm then going to do is put loads more down, and just go 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, emerald, 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 right click, right click, right click.
Emerald.
Can you see how quickly I'm draining my Mahoo now? It's really, really quick. So what I'm then going to do is I'm going to get another chest. I'm going to show you this with iron, just so you can see how quickly it'll work with iron. And then I'm going to go emerald, emerald, on all of these. And again, you can just do this with one, but basically the more you do it with, the quicker it's going to be. Go into your crafting table. Obviously, if you have auto-crafting somehow, that would be even better. Hoppers next to the chests, even better. You get the idea. And then you can just shift-click to get loads of iron shovels into your inventory. And then shift-control-click them all into the chest. And then I would just do it again. And you probably only need a few of these. You probably don't need that many, but I'm going to go diamond again. And there we go. So I've just been preparing these chests for about 5 minutes. And already you can see now, so all these are all full apart from the middle one, just because I can't click it because it's in the way. So the middle one here is empty. And all of these other ones are filled. And you can see how quickly my Mahoo is going up. With all of these going, so that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, that's 8 boundary of life drains. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 chests. So basically, what you would really recommend is you have one per one. So 8 durability exchanges and 8 boundary of life drains. But you could just keep going with this. You could just use one of them, or you could use 10 of them, or you could use 100 of them. And it's up to you, of course, to use other mods. Maybe use refined storage to export tools and use auto-crafting to actually export into these chests, etc. It really depends where you are in your playthrough and the mod pack you're playing, of course. But there you go. That's how we would generate Mahoo really, really quickly in Mahoo to Sky. So now that you've got some mana going, or once you've got some mana going, you're going to want to start making some cool weapons from Mahoo to Sky. One of those, and the first and easiest one, I would say, is Emrys. It's a staff that can conjure lightning. So what you're going to do is you're first up going to take a piece of spellcloth, put it on the ground, cut yourself with a dagger, use your keybind, which for me is M, and you're going to place it on the spellcloth. Now I always get this wrong a bit, as you can see. There we go. And then you're going to place 2 diamond and 1 iron and right-click, which will give you a scroll of strengthening. Hold a stick in your offhand, right-click the scroll of strengthening. It costs about 150 mana, I believe, and then release. And now you'll see that it says unbreakable, and that is a strengthened stick. Even though it's still called stick, it is actually a strengthened stick. You see in green it says strengthened, and it's unbreakable. You then need to get hit by lightning somehow. Now I'm going to use the summon lightning bolt command because I'm a lazy pig and this is a tutorial, but obviously there's many ways you can get struck by lightning, vanilla or otherwise, literally just standing in an empty field in a thunderstorm will do it. Throwing a trident enchanted with channeling at a lightning rod like the one in front of me, I think also strikes you with lightning, vanilla, but obviously there's loads of ways you can do it in modded as well, depending on the mod pack you have installed. Get struck by lightning, holding that strengthened stick in your offhand still, and boom, it has been immediately turned into Emrys. Then what's going to happen is you may want to take it into your main hand to use it and notice it doesn't work. It is still used in your offhand, the Emrys staff, and what happens is if I hold down right click, and it will use some of your Mahoo or your mana to actually use it, but if I right click it with it in my offhand, look what happens. It makes a massive thunderstorm around you, and it's really, really cool. And this is why I would recommend that you keep generating more and more Mahoo, because as you can see, it is using quite a lot of it up. And there you go, that is how you use and make the Emrys in Mahoo to Sky. If you like ranged weapons, then maybe you want to get the Nobu, which is kind of this weird machine gun bow that I have here. So how do we get it? Well, the first thing you're going to need is a bow. Put the bow in your offhand and then use a scroll of strengthening. You will need 200 mana or Mahoo in order to do this. So hold right click down with the scroll of strengthening and release. And what you'll see on the bow is it now says strengthened and unbreakable. Now this is the difficult bit. You need to, with an arrow, hit a mob with that bow that is over 200 blocks away from you. Yes, really. Now it doesn't designate that it must be X or Y axis, and therefore a pillar, as shown, is going to be the best. However, you may or may not know that at least hostile mobs, I'm not sure about passive mobs, they will despawn if they are 150 blocks further than the player. So what I've done here is I've used name tags to make sure that the mobs do not despawn. But it's up to you, there may be a better way of doing it, that's just the easiest way I could find. So put some mobs in a little pit like this, and then you have to go up 200 blocks higher, because you must be over 200 blocks away, and you must hit them with an arrow. So I'll meet you at the top. Once you're up on your pillar, I would shift and walk forward, because if you shift you can't fall off, and then just literally pull the bow arrow and fire down. And you may not hit anything, do it again. And what you'll see is that sometimes, after you use a few arrows, oh, there you go, see, it's turned into a Nobu. And that's how you get Nobu. But one thing to note, sometimes, see it says unbreakable and strengthened, sometimes once you've fired a few arrows, it will go back to the default version of the bow. So if that does happen, basically what I would suggest you do is 1, take a bucket of water up with you so that you can get down easily, or 2, make sure you take up quite a few scrolls of strengthening to re-strengthen the bow if that happens. But either way, that is how you get Nobu. If you want a really cool sword from Mahoo to Sky, quite early game, the Clarent is the one you're going to want to get. So it takes 2 steps to get it. First up, you're going to need some scrolls of strengthening. Then, all you're going to do is take a diamond sword, like this one here, hold it in your hand, right-click the scroll of strengthening, all the way, it costs about 200 Mahoo, release, and now you'll see that the diamond sword says unbreakable and strengthened. Take that out and put it onto your action bar, okay? Then, come to the end, and you need the end dragon to throw its, fireball at you, so that it makes dragon breath on the floor. So there we go, here it comes. There's the dragon's breath that you're looking for, and literally walk into it, and then just right-click your sword into the breath, and as you can see, I've now got a Clarent. So what does the Clarent actually do? Well, it's a pretty nice sword, and the good thing is it can block, like as you see here, I'm right-clicking, and it's actually working as a shield, and any damage that it blocks, it will actually reverse back at the attacker and deal the amount of damage to the attacker that the attack would have done to you. And that's how you get the Clarent in Mahoo to Sky. This shield here is called Replica, and this is a really cool item from Mahoo to Sky. It's a bit different to some of the other items that I've seen in how to get them. So we need to get 4 different scrolls and do a few different things in order to get this. So let's get going. So you are going to need them on scrolls, so make sure you put down your spellcloth under these. I'm just going to show you these as an example, but to actually do it, you put down the spellcloth, use the dagger, M on top of it, and you then put the items I'm going to show you on top. But I've already got the scrolls here, so I'm just going to show you the items I'm going to put on here. The first one is going to be a scroll of strengthening. For a scroll of strengthening, it's 1 iron and 2 diamond. You're also going to need some, or well, a few of Mystic Eyes of Death Collection scrolls, and it will drain 400 mana from the caster on use. That's going to be 2 powdered eye and 1 powdered iron for the catalysts. Then we're going to need damage exchange. This is going to drain 40 mana on use. Damage taken will convert into mana a few times. So basically, the way that you get replica is by making yourself invincible and then blocking an attack. This is what we're trying to do. This one is powdered iron and 2 powdered emerald. And then the last one you need is immunity exchange. Again, it drains 400 mana from the caster on use. Now, if you haven't quite got 400 mana as a limit yet, oh, and this one is 2 powdered emerald and 1 eye, don't forget to use something like a attuned diamond, because you can just fill this up with your mana, and the scrolls will take it from the attuned diamond or the attuned emerald before taking it from your actual mana at the top left here. So, what do we now do? Make a Minecraft shield. Just a basic vanilla shield, and put it in your offhand. Another thing you're going to want to do regarding armor is you're going to want to get a golden apple. I'm not sure if an enchanted, I get an enchanted one if you can. A golden apple, I believe, is fine. Again, you're trying to make yourself basically invincible. And I've tried this without a golden apple, without any armor, and it doesn't work. You do need to be like super duper duper whooper invincible. So I've put on netherite armor, iron or diamond, I would try it with that as well, but netherite is definitely good. And then you get your shield and put it in your offhand, and use your scroll of strengthening. So pull it back and let go. And now your shield will say unbreakable, strengthened. Take it out of your offhand, oh my goodness, and put the shield into your main hand. So now we have our other scrolls. We have the Scroll of Mystic Eyes of Death Collection, and that's the one I want you to use. So use it. And what you'll see here is for 28 seconds, I have Death Collection eyes. And can you see at the top left, it says Souls Collected 5. So what I need you to do is kill anything lots of times. And as you'll see, this red writing comes up saying Death Collected. Total number of souls collected will be 0.1, 0.2. You need to get up to 5.0, which is the maximum. And in order to do that, that's when you use the Death Collection eyes scroll. Don't worry if the buff runs out, you won't lose your souls. Just use another scroll with Mystic Eyes of Death Collection, and you'll get the buff again, meaning you can collect more souls. So you need to collect souls until it says 5.0. Now, when it says minus 25 regen, that's your Mahoo regen. So do have some way of actually generating Mahoo or mana while doing this. Then you're going to be using your Scroll of Damage Exchange and Scroll of Immunity Exchange with a mob nearby. I've just got a zombie spawn egg, but a mob isn't hard to find. So I'm going to use my Scroll of Damage Exchange. There we go, and it says Damage Exchange 5 on the top left. And then I'm going to use my Scroll of Immunity Exchange. And that's worked because we'll have a buff for a minute. I'm then going to eat my enchanted golden apple. Then a mob. Get your shield that's strengthened. Right click so you can block an attack. Oh, it's on peaceful. And just block an attack with it. Go on, hit me then. Oh my goodness. It hit me. I think it's because I'm literally immune. Sorry guys, this worked fine a minute ago. And now it's one off. And it says if you're trying to make a replica, you've forgotten to strengthen your shield. So if that happens, just use a Scroll of Strengthening once again. Boom, there we go. Oh, make sure you use it in your fan, sorry for that bit. Scroll of Strengthening, there we go. And then just re-get your buffs. So I'm passing going to use my golden apple, my immunity exchange, and my Scroll of Damage Exchange. There you go. And the arrow hits the shield when I'm blocking with it, and it's turned into a replica. So just to recap on what you need to do to get a replica, first make a Scroll of Strengthening, and make some Scrolls of Damage Exchange, Immunity Exchange, and Mystic Eyes of Death Collection. As you saw, I had to do it a few times. Make a golden apple or something of resistance, get some good armor, and then hold your shield in your offhand, and use the Scroll of Strengthening so that it becomes an unbreakable strengthened one. Take it out of your offhand into your main hand on your toolbar. Use your Scroll of Mystic Eyes of Death Collection until kill loads of mobs with that buff active until you get 5.0 souls. And then just activate your Scroll of Immunity Exchange, activate your Scroll of Damage Exchange, eat a golden apple, and then block an attack with replica. If it's not working on a zombie, because you could become like immune to mobs, then have a skeleton fire an arrow at you. And if you've had a skeleton fire an arrow at you and it's not worked because you're immune to it, then have something melee attack you. Hopefully that makes sense. Hope I've shown you perfectly. It was a bit of a tricky one to do that one. So hopefully that gave you a good understanding of how to get a replica. Now, there's actually 4 weapons you can get in Hotus Sky that are actually really simple to get, and all they require is a Scroll of Weapon Projectiles, a Scroll of Explosive Mana Condensation, a Scroll of Spatial Disorientation, and a Scroll of Proximity Projection. Gosh, what a mouthful. So, once you've made those scrolls, you can just use them in order to get the weapon. So I'm going to use the Scroll of Weapon Projectiles. I just right-click, hold down, and release, and then I have a Weapon of Weapon Projectiles. Now, this will actually fire any weapons in your main hand or offhand, so I can actually just fire my Caliburn, which I'll be showing you again shortly. And there we go. And then you can actually run and pick these up just like they are arrows. As you can see, I can actually throw, I think it's because I'm creative, I can throw like multiple of them. It's very, very cool. It's using a weapon as a projectile. In order to get that one, it's 2 powdered diamond and 1 powdered gold. Next up is Explosive Mana Condensation. And this is the opposite. This is 2 gold, 1 diamond. So when I use this one, I get a Mystic Staff of Explosive Mana Condensation, of course. And this one, and this all costs Mahoo, of course, to use. This was crazy. I hold right-click, and look at that. I mean, it's absolutely spectacular. I right-click, I hold it down, and it starts raining. I release, and it literally, it wasn't in super flat, it's even more crazy, a massive crater in the ground. Next up, we have Spatial Disorientation. This is 1 Ender Dust and 2 Gold Dust for this one. And just hold that. Oh, did I get it? Yes. You hold this. I mean, look at that. Absolutely mental. So this will basically fling things around. So I can kind of hold it downwards like this and then release, and it should make me fling, but maybe not. But basically, you hold it wherever you want and it will fling them around. One thing I forgot to mention about the Explosive Mana Condensation is that it actually has modes. You can actually shift right-click and go to beam mode. So fire a beam. Oh, wow, like that. And then shift right-click and big explosion, which is what I showed you before. And then AoE mode, which literally will just fire kind of like explosions, if you will, which is very, very cool. As shows. Very, very destructive. It's one of my favorite staffs in Minecraft, I would say. As you can see, you just hold it down and it'll just fire these like explosions around, like that. Now, what this last one can do, the Scroll of Proximity Projection, is you can basically leap to your target like Wolverine and claw them to death. And this is 1 Ender, 2 diamonds, so I'm going to try and use it on the chicken. So you can see here when I'm holding it, a little circle comes up, I can left-click, and I basically TP to it and, well, attack it with the claws. And that is the Crimson Black Keys of Proximity Projection. But now, let's go on to the Piece de Resistance, the Caliburn, and the Morgan. So how do we then get the Caliburn and the Morgan? These are the best weapons in this mod of Hotus Sky. Well, the first thing you do is make a big old lake in our world. Do not do this near your base, and just watch this, and I'll show you why. So, hit for the dagger, put down a blood circle and Mahujin, and then it's 2 diamonds and 1 emerald. And then what you'll see is that the lake is starting to appear. It does get foggy, and it gets fairly big. If you just, you notice the fog is only here if I come down near it. If I actually jump up, the fog will disappear. So this is how big the lake is that we made by that ritual. Then we're going to need 5,000 Mahoo. Now you can see at the top left my Mahoo is only 646. So you may be thinking, well, how do I get that? The best way to do it is just storing up in some attuned diamonds or attuned emeralds. Attuned emeralds, remember, store 1,000, diamonds 2,000. So I've stored up a few here. So yeah, just store up some of these diamonds and by right-clicking with them, and you'll be able to get 5,000. So now what we need to do is get an anvil, and we need to enchant a diamond sword with smite. Now, the higher the smite, the better. So I'm going to use a crazy high smite. Now, the thing is with the Caliburn and the Morgan is if you want to be upgrading them, which you can, I'm going to show you how, you can only upgrade them once. So you need to make sure you're using the best of the best that you have available, otherwise you'll have to make a new one, which obviously isn't a big deal, but, you know, just FYI. So I'm going to put my diamond sword in with my smite and take that out, and then we simply toss it into the lake. Now, this lake won't kill you unless you run out of water, and then go into the lake, and what you'll see in the lake is the Caliburn. So we literally just go and pick it up, and there you go, you've now got Caliburn, and Caliburn is the sword that you'll be turning into your Morgan sword. Caliburn has 16 attack damage, 1.6 attack speed, and you'll notice here it has an innate cap of 30. So this is basically the cap of how much we can upgrade it. It's not how you upgrade it, it's the cap of how much we can upgrade it or what level we can upgrade it to. So in order to actually upgrade it, again, you're going to enchant it with smite, obviously higher the better. So I'm going to add smite to it, and then what you need to do is throw it back into the lake with nether stars. And this is the bit where you can only do it once, and 60 nether stars is the maximum cap. So you need to throw the nether stars in all at once with the sword. And as you can see, it has taken some mahoo off me. Looks like it took 2,000, I believe, or 4,000 to upgrade that. But now when I go in, and I take my Caliburn, the innate cap is 60. You can see at the moment the attack damage is 25. I can go to my anvil, I can put it in with smite again, and then throw it into the lake, which has used another nearly 6,000, 5,000 mahoo, and now it's got 34 attack damage. So just to recap there, what you want to do is get a diamond sword, enchant it with smite, the best smite you can, throw it into the lake, get out your Caliburn, enchant it with smite again, and then you want to throw it in with nether stars. 60 is the max, but make sure you throw them in as a stack of 60. You only have one chance basically, and then throw the Caliburn into the lake. It will upgrade it to the innate cap of 60, and then enchant it with smite a second time, well technically a third time if you include the diamond sword, and then throw it back in the lake and it will upgrade it. But you will need a fair amount of attuned diamonds. I have used about sort of 10,000 maybe overall. It will take quite a lot, and that is how you get a maxed out Caliburn. The next step would be to upgrade it to a Morgan sword, which is a different sword and the best. So how do we now upgrade our Caliburn into a Morgan? Well, it's interesting. You need to find a wolf, technically, get some bones, or bone, tame the wolf, so that it loves you, and now it's a dog, and then kill it in cold blood with your Caliburn, baby! And there you go, you evil person. You've now got yourself a Morgan. One thing to note here, the innate cap of the Morgan will be whatever your innate cap was on your Caliburn, so make sure you're upgrading it to the max, otherwise you're going to have to go out killing more dogs. Now then, we can upgrade our Morgan even further. And then what you want to do is get villagers. This is really pure evil at this point. Oops. And you want to kill them with the Morgan. And the more you do it, so I've got 34.2, and you just want to kill loads and loads and loads and loads of villagers. Baby villagers give more XP, if you want to call it XP, but the Morgan eventually will level up in damage the more villagers you kill, and that is pretty much the only way to upgrade it. And you can upgrade it, upgrade it, upgrade it. Obviously, you would ideally have a farm for your Morgan, so a villager farm, so that you can slaughter them all in cold blood. And you can also right-click your Morgan to actually like summon a big kind of orb that is a special attack as well. But there you go, that is how you get your Morgan, that's how you max out your Morgan, and that is pretty much the best weapon in Mahoo to Sky. Another interesting one that the mod adds is the rule breaker. So this one, I'm going to explain after we make it. It's a bit confusing what it does, and I'm not a master of using it, but I will explain to you how to use it, if that makes sense. So what you're going to want to do is get 3 circles. So 1, 2, and 3. I would say to get like 2 near each other and then 1 over here. And then you're going to need, let me just go and check, diamond, quartz, and gold. So quartz, diamond, gold. And then, oh sorry, one of them needs to be a spell cloth. So, I'm sorry, I should have said that. There we go. Diamond, gold, quartz. And then right-click it, and you're going to get a scroll of probability alter. Then what you do is you get these other 2 circles without a cloth and go diamond, gold, and quartz, and then you're going to throw some chorus fruit on them. What you're also going to need is 5,000 mahoo, or mana. So I've got some tuned diamonds with my mana in. Oh, there's a real break from earlier. And I'm just going to throw some chorus fruit on here. So one on there, and one on there. And then use your scroll of probability alter. So use it, and then what will appear in your inventory is a rule breaker. So that's how you get rule breaker. And when you use it, you get a probability alter effect. So in the book, it says you can change the probability of what drops from things based on the modulus of the dagger. While the modulus is set at creation, the dagger's dividend can be increased by shift right clicking. So when I look at my rule breaker, it says dividend 0, modulus 2. So I can shift right click, and it says dividend 1, dividend 0, dividend 1. And what you're doing is you're removing probability on different things. So if I kill, like if you kill a zombie, usually it has a chance to drop rotten flesh, it might drop a zombie head, it might drop, I think that's it really, isn't it? Am I missing something? I don't know, but either way, there's 2 examples. When I hit it with a rule breaker, you notice on the zombie it has probability alter, and when I then kill the zombie, I guess I guaranteed nothing. So depending on the dividend you set, will change the probability to 100% in either direction, and the only way that you will actually know exactly what probability or dividend you want for a certain mob is trial and error, because they're all different. So just trial around a different dividend set on a specific mob, if that's what you're trying to do. It's really complex to use. I'm going to be honest, I don't fully understand it. It says here, when a random whole number is requested, dividend divided by modulus will be returned instead. When a random decimal is requested, dividend divided by modulus will be returned. What I found online was this. I'll just read it out to you. So it has a main function. It applies a status effect to living things that when a random value is asked for from the living thing, a set non-random value is returned. If the requested number is a decimal, living things affected by the status effect will return d divided by m. If it's an integer, then living things affected by the status effect will return d by percentage of m. It's all quite complicated. So basically, the rule breaker is used to make random things no longer random. Some examples of things in vanilla are enchantments, villager trades, and mob drops. So mob drops apply rule breakers effect to them before they die. Enchanting, the roll for your next enchant happens when you finish your current enchant. So apply rule breakers effect yourself while you are enchanting something to control the next roll. But again, you'd have to like shift right click to get it to the right bit that you need. Villager trades are simply decide when they spawn or when they change profession. So apply rule breaker to the villager before they change or upgrade professions. Now, As you'll see here, it says modulus 2, and do you remember I said that the modulus is decided when you make the item? So that basically is, I used 2 probability alters here. Well, if you use more of them, if I use 5 of these, then the modulus would be 5. So that's how you determine that. But it's all kind of trial and error with different mobs and enchantments, etc. It's quite a complex weapon to use. But that is how you make and use the rule breaker anyway. If someone is more intelligent than me and has worked it out, please do comment below. But hopefully that is somewhat helpful for you guys. The last one I want to show you is the Ripper Blades. So this one is really, really easy. Get a spell cloth, put it down, and then we're going to use, obviously, our dagger, and put the blood on there. And then we're going to need iron and... When you use it, it uses, I think, 100 mana. You can then see the ley lines of the world. So these are the ley lines here. I'm just going to go into creative. This is an actual ley, and this is the ley line. Either way, these are the ley. As you can see, these go all the way out on different axes, and then you'll find more circular ones. Some will be smaller and have less rings than this, and some will have the 3 rings you see here. Now, what can spawn on, well, a few things. If you fly on a ley line, as you can see, it doesn't last forever, it lasts about a minute. If you fly on a ley line with an elytra, it boosts your elytra. Your mana will regen faster when you're near a ley line, and you should do your spells on here because you're going to get Fae spawning. So the way that Fae spawn, I actually struggled to get the Fae to spawn, and I thought they just spawned around this ley line passively. They do not. They will actually only spawn. If you look at my mana, can you see that my mana is obviously going up and down because I'm using mana with Boundary of Life Drain, and then I'm generating mana with these durability exchanges. So the Fae, which are little fairies, have a chance to spawn, I believe it's a 10% chance to spawn in the air every few seconds whenever your mana is regenerating. So every time your mana regenerates, they are attracted to that. They're attracted to you using magic near a ley line. So using magic like I am here, they'll be attracted to that, hence why your mana going up and down is going to attract them. So what do they look like? So they look like this here. This is a picture I found on Google. They're like little sprites, okay? And what they drop is Fae dust. So because I've got the life, let me show you. Because I have these drain life boundaries up, what they will do is when the Fae spawn, it will automatically kill them. You can breed them together using any type of powdered dusts. I don't see any spawning, but as you can see, it's not constant that they'll be spawning, but they will. I had one spawn over here, like one over here, one over here, and waiting around for like 5 minutes, I only saw 1 or 2 spawning. So I would say they are like a bit rare. There's not really like tons of them spawning. And to be able to see them, you do need to make sure you have this effect on, as well as obviously being on a ley line. So what they actually drop when they die is Fae Essence. I would just do what I'm doing, have Boundary of Life, Drain Life, and then some way of getting your mana back. And when they spawn, periodically, every sort of 3 to 5 minutes, I would say. That's how much I've seen one spawn while standing here. I mean, I've been filming this for like 4 minutes now, and nothing has spawned. But yes, your mana going up and down will give you a chance to spawn them. And they will drop Fae Essence. You can turn it into a cake, however they won't like you, and they'll stay away from you if you eat the cake. And you can also make a mana circuit with them, which I'm going to show you in a minute, and also a Mystic Code First Sorcery, which I'm going to show you in a minute as well. The cool thing about the Fae Essence is rather than using the dagger, you can just place down the Fae Essence to make your boundary, your Mahujin, as seen, which makes it a lot easier to do. So the last thing I want to show you is a few cool items. There's the Mahujin Projector, which is made, I've forgotten how it's made, as shown, and basically you place this down, right-click it, and you can change basically the angles and the height, etc. of the projector, and it's just this big cool ring as a decorative block. There's another one, which is the mana circuit. It says not mine. I can right-click it, and now it's mine, and I can just right-click and add mana to it, and nearby spells, etc. that I'm using will draw mana from it, and I can shift right-click and it turns it on. It's very, very pretty. Then we have the Mystic Code. What I can do with this is, as you can see when I right-click, it has like a spell on my arm, and if I shift right-click, I can add scrolls into here, and I can use those scrolls by right-clicking. To actually change what spell I'm using, I press Y for Yankee on my keyboard, and I can then change which scroll. There's also a different version, which is, here it is, the Mystic Code First Sorcery, and this one can take a stack of scrolls in each slot. Lastly, we have the Kodoku worms, as seen here. Very interesting. I'm going to read out what they do from the book. Every time a monster kills something, their Kodoku value goes up by 1, plus the Kodoku value of the monster itself. Of it that it killed, sorry. So if a monster killed a monster, that monster that done the killing would get a Kodoku value of 1. Let's say that monster killed 10, it would have a Kodoku value of 10. If a monster that also had a Kodoku value of 10 killed the monster who also had a Kodoku value of 10, they would then get all 10 onto them, making theirs 20. Hopefully that makes sense what I just said. You can simply place a hungry Kodoku worm on that monster and kill the specimen. When a worm consumes the essence of a mob with a high Kodoku value, you can simply right-click to pick it up. Worms with high Kodoku values have a number of uses. When you burn the worms, they will generate mana for any nearby mana circuits. That's the item I just showed you here. That's a mana circuit. The amount of mana depends on how close to a ley line the burning occurred. And they can also be used for sympathetic magic. So you can use sympathetic magic. You use this ritual here. Have an inventory under it containing Kodoku worms to act as fuel. So just like when you're doing the durability swap one. And you simply throw items onto it, like you would with the chorus fruit for the Ripper Blades. Blaze Powder gives fire effects. Rabbit Foot gives you like a jump boost, I think. Splash Potions give the effects of the Splash Potions.
Very nice.
When you start Just Dire things, there's one thing you're going to need to do at the start, and that is going to be making some goo. So the goo will actually make you new resources in Just Dire things. The first goo you'll make is a Primogel goo. There's also a Blaze Bloom goo, a Void Shimmer goo, and the Shadow Pulse goo. So the first goo, which is of course the Primogel goo, you make that with vanilla ingredients. Then you can upgrade it using Nether ingredients to the Blaze Bloom goo. You can upgrade that using End ingredients to the Void Shimmer goo, and then upgrade that one using like Skulk ingredients to get the Shadow Pulse goo. Now the higher the goo, the higher ones can make all the same things that the lower tiers can make. And you don't have to keep remaking them. So if you have access to this stuff, I would just make the highest one you can straight away. But you don't need to. So what we do is I'm going to place the goo down. And can you see here that it had some rotten flesh as an icon? And now it's showing sugar. So to activate the goo, you need to feed it by right-clicking it with one of the things that is glowing. So then it's going to actually expand to the blocks next to it. And for the Primogel goo, the two main ones you'll be doing that for is a block of iron and a block of coal. So I can just place a block of iron here, a block of coal here, feed it some sugar. And what you're going to start seeing is that the Primogel goo is going to, you see already, it's starting to expand onto the texture of the iron and also onto the coal. And over every few seconds, you can see it's expanding more and more as it converts the coal and the iron into a new resource. Eventually, it will turn it into raw primal coal and raw ferrocore ore. Now, these will work with fortune, and you can then mine, obviously, these resources to get the new resources of ferrocore and primal coal. The blaze bloom goo, you'll be using primal coal block. So the primal coal that's made here, you can make it into a block, and then transmute that with blaze bloom goo into raw blaze ember, and blocks of gold into raw blaze gold ore. Then blaze ember blocks, which is this one, the raw blaze ember, make that into a block and convert it with void shimmer goo into raw void flame coal. Same with diamond block into raw celestigem ore. And lastly, the shadow pulse goo will turn the void flame coal, which you've just made over here, a block of it, into raw eclipse ember, and you can also make a block of netherite into raw eclipse alloy ore. It can also turn amethyst, so this was a budding amethyst, and you can then turn it into a budding time crystal block. And that is all of the goos that you can use in Just Dire Things. Another thing that we can do, just before we move on, so this is polymorphic fluid here, and this is kind of what you can use with some of these resources. So you can see here a polymorphic catalyst. What you can do is make a blaze gold ingot by just smelting up some raw blaze gold that you would have made with your goo, and you get some polymorphic catalyst when adding that ingot to a nether wart. What you can then do is get some water, and then just drop the catalyst into the water, as so, and you get polymorphic fluid. What you can then do with polymorphic fluid is drop more things into it, time crystals, portal fluid catalyst, make it into unstable fluid. You can prop in the blaze ember to make it into unrefined blaze ember fuel, and then turn the blaze ember fuel into blaze ember fuel by putting it next to the actual liquid next to the goo here, and then this one again can go up by then putting void flame fuel into it to make unrefined one, and then you put that next to the void shimmer goo to make void flame fuel, etc, etc. So there is also liquids that you can make with this kind of process with catalysts and goos. Before we get any further, I'll let you know that I'm partnering up with G-Portal here to give you 10% off your first month with them. They do all sorts of Minecraft servers, whether you want mod. These are simple machines added by Just Dire Things. Generally, to make them, you're going to be using ferrocore ingots, made by mining, of course, raw ferrocore, or that you've made with blocks of iron. So what ones do we have? We've got the simple block placer. If you right-click on it, you can see here we can place items in here to be placed by the block placer. Which right way up do you want to, place them? How quickly do you want to place them? And should I only do it with redstone or not? And then opposite we have the block breaker, which will break the blocks and leave them, as you can see, lying all over the ground. And if you would like it to sneak click, so it's imitating a sneak click, you can do that here. And it will need a tool like a netherite pickaxe, and it will also actually use durability when it's breaking blocks. The simple clicker, simply it clicks things. So do you want to target air, only hostile mobs, passive mobs, adults, child, player, etc.? You can put a tool in here if you wish, like a wooden sword, or depending on what you need to be clicking. If you're clicking any living things, you want to target blocks, so it'll click whatever's in front of it. Do you want to left click, right click, hold a click as well? And if so, how long do you want to hold that click for? Do you want to sneak click, and do you actually show the fake player doing it or not? Again, you can ignore redstone, etc. A simple sensor will emit a redstone signal, depending on if you have a sort of allowed or denied filter in here. You can right click and put that in here. Do you want to target blocks, etc.? A simple dropper will drop items. So you can say how many do you want to drop? You can drop multiple items. There's a pickup delay, etc. The simple swapper. This is, as you can see, bound. So you will need to use a ferrocore wrench for this. Right click it, and it says bound to overworld, and then click another simple swapper, and it'll either bind or unbind it. Now what this does is I'm saying target players. It will teleport them to wherever it's bound. So if I stand in front of it, it teleports me to here. And the delay is, of course, 20 ticks. Simple fluid placer will place fluid that you pump into here with any sort of mod in front of it. A simple fluid collector is basically a pump that will pump up fluid in front of it. Simple coal generator, you just put coal in here and it makes some forge energy. And then the fuel generator, you could put fuel in here. So, for example, you could pump in lava. And that is all the simple machines added by Just Dire Things. There is also advanced versions of a lot of these machines. We have the advanced block breaker, clicker, sensor, etc. And basically, when you go into here, they all look the same. You have this big filter list here, so I can filter for blocks of coal, maybe. And then what you can also do is, you see this box here, is I can put the offset, for different axes, and increase how big the box is I want to break, etc. And we can, really mess with the area that we want to actually do it with, and it will need energy. The same is going to be with the clicker, same as with the sensor, same as with the dropper. You can see they're all pretty much the same. You can just add like the areas you want to do. Like in the dropper, it has this big inventory that I can fill with things to drop, rather than only a one little square. And this render area, that's what's showing you this area here that it's actually doing as well. Things you can do in here, for example, in the advanced swap, like you can add an allow list or deny list. So I can say only move blocks of coal from one location to the other, or I can deny everything. Sorry, I could let everything through but blocks of coal, for example. So whitelist and blacklist. I can compare NBT, which is like the tags, like forge ores. So if I put an iron ore in here, would it allow all forge ores to go through, or would it just be iron ore? That's what NBT would do there. There's also a lot of other items here and blocks that do not fit in the simple advanced category. So we have the item collector. In here, you can set, if I just show render area, you can see I set it to here. I drop a chest, and it collects it up and puts it into the chest below, for example. Very simple. Then we have the player accessor. This is really interesting. What you can see here is the different slots for up, down, left, right. So on the top slot, for example, I could say inventory slots, armor slots, or offhand slots. And that's how I can interact with the player. So if I put a hopper on the top slot, as you can see here, offhand slot is on the up. So anything going into this hopper will basically affect my offhand. Currently, my offhand is empty. If I put this block of gold into the hopper, it appears in my offhand. It's crazy. I know. It's amazing. Then we have the paradox machine. This one is very interesting. Basically, you need to fill it with time, fluid, and energy, and then you can set the radius on it. And then what you do is you take a snapshot of the area. So let's say there's a chicken here. You fill it up. You press snapshot area, and then you press revert blocks and entities. And basically what it will do is it will actually revert what was there. So if you had a chicken here, and then you snapshot the area, it basically takes it all away, and then you can just revert it, and it'll actually put everything back how it was. But be careful, because you will get a paradox appear if you use it too much. And to stop the paradox, what do you give it? You feed it something, a time crystal. But how do you make a time crystal? Well, I'm going to show you. It's very interesting. So a time crystal is basically made from a time crystal, like a budding time crystal block. And what you'll see here is that it shows you that the budding amethyst with shadow pulse goo makes a budding time crystal block. But what you actually do is take it through 3 different dimensions. So as you can see here, it's turned blue. Once it turns colour, it's done in that dimension. You now need to push this through to the nether, wait for it to change colour, and then bring it to the end, and then it will actually be able to start making time crystals. However, you cannot break it and you cannot use silk touch. So what you should use...
What? Disney Dreamlight Valley?
Simple swappers.
You went from that to Minecraft?
In the nether, so that you can swap the block to where it would be in the nether, and then do the same with the end, etc. And that's how you would move the budding time crystal block, so they can get all the way to the end.
And then
we have the inventory area, very cool. I can say swap items. So it basically gives you 2 whole sets of items. So I've just swapped it all, and it shows you like your little player as well. It's really cool. I can swap it all back. I can push them all into here. I can pull them all into here. I can say filtered items only. I can compare stack sizes. you know, et cetera, et cetera. It's up to you how you use it. Really cool item. The experience holder, I can just add experience into here if I wish, saying owner only, or can everyone use it? There's the energy transmitter that will transmit energy, you know, in a radius around it, sort of thing. And then you'll see these portals here. These are made from the portal gun. These are made with blaze gold ingots, and I can right-click to set the orange version and left-click to set the blue. And basically, when you go for the orange or blue, it takes you through to the other one. Now I've done it on the floor, so it's, yeah. You go for the blue one, it takes you to the orange. You go for the orange, it takes you through to the blue. You can set these anywhere you like, and that's the portal gun. There is then an advanced version, but this one, so the basic version just requires forge energy. The advanced version requires forge energy and portal fluid. And then one item I've got in my inventory here is the creature catcher. If I put down a chicken, I can right-click it with the creature capture, and as you can see, it pops up an item, and there's the creature capture in my inventory.
Yeah, am I missing out?
Just to put chicken
Do I need to play Disney Dream My
also
Valley?
has lots of different tiers of tools and armors. So we're going to start off with the ferrocore, and you can then make a template blaze gold, obviously using a blank template and some blaze gold, and you can basically upgrade it from ferrocore to blaze gold to celesta gem to eclipse alloy, obviously being better and better. For example, the ferrocore leggings give 5 armor, the blaze gold give 5 armor. But what you'll notice on here is that there are upgrades. So the ferrocore you can't use as much. So you can see here that the available add-ons are run speed and walk speed. And you can see that blaze gold adds the same, but also lava repair and swim speed. So basically, the further you go up, the more you can do. To see what add-ons you can have available for gear, just hold shift and it will show you the different add-ons. There's quite a lot of different add-ons that you can get. So let's just go through them really, really quickly. There's the smoker one. This is a passive ability. So what you'll notice is there's active and passive abilities. Active ones will use your keybinds that you've set to actually activate an ability, and it may have a cooldown. And then passive ones are, well, passive. So the smoker upgrade automatically smokes items dropped by kills. The instant break allows the tool to instantly mine blocks. Ore scanner highlights nearby ores with green particles when activated. So when you activate that using the keybind, whatever it is in your keybinds options, then you can activate that and see it nearby ores. Now some mod packs may think it's overpowered and disable it, like in the mod pack I'm playing in. Or X-ray. There's also Mob X-ray. There's Cauterized Wound, provides minor healing when activated, but can only be activated if the player has recently taken damage or is taking damage. Drops Teleport is an interesting one. It automatically teleports into an inventory bound to the tool. Shift right clicking the tool on inventory binds it. Note when on a just dire tool's hoe, items dropped by the auto harvestability of the whatever are teleported to the bound inventory. Also right clicking farmland will rebind them if the bound inventory of the tool has been changed. So basically teleports items to wherever you bound it by shift clicking that tool in that inventory. There's a smelter upgrade, kind of pretty obvious what that one does. Ore miner, mob scanner, there's a leaf breaker, lawnmower, there's tree feller for axes, etc. And then you have the armor upgrades over here, like run speed, jump boost, swim speed, step assist, walk speed, mind fog, which reduces the detection range of hostile mobs, invulnerability, ground stomp, repels nearby mobs when activated and has a cooldown, extinguishes the player if they're on fire and has a cooldown, that's the extinguish one, earthquake, reducing fall damage, decoy, spawns a decoy the player that pulls aggro away from the player and has a cooldown, phase allows the player to walk through blocks, there's a block tag to blacklist blocks from being able to be phased through. So there's loads and loads of different upgrades you can put in your gear here, and it all works through the smithing table. So if I get mine, what you can see here is I can put on these upgrades through the smithing table, like for example, the mob scanner one, I would just put up in here, just like that, take it out, and then what I can do is I can shift right click to actually change the settings. So I can right click the mob scanner in here, because that's the one I've got enabled, and then you can see the options for it. So I can say, do I want to left click, right click, activate, equipped, etc. on the mob scanner. And you can do that for all upgrades. So again, just shift right click, and that'll bring up the settings menu for all of the modules that you have installed on your gear. As well as gear, there's also some wands, and there's also a totem of death recall. So normal totems save you from dying. The totem of death recall actually teleports you to where you died and is a one-time use. Then we have the blaze jet wand. This gives you a little puff of air, so off you go. Then you've got the void shift wand, which is an upgraded version. As you can see, there's a ghost almost of me. This will literally teleport you, so I can right click and it teleports me here. The eclipse gate wand also does the same thing. This is the next one up, but I can actually also click on blocks to make them disappear temporarily, so I can walk through. As you can see there, so I can click on the blocks and disappear, but I can also click and it will teleport me around as well. So those are the really cool wands that we have available to us. Apart from that, there is one other item. There's the machine's settings copier. You can just right click, etc., to copy machine settings onto another machine if you have multiple. And then there's also a, where is it? Oh, here it is. I don't know where it was. Pocket generator. This will actually be used as a pocket generator. You can actually have it in your inventory, and you can put coal in here. So you just right click to open it, making energy, and it will charge any items. Like for example, you see it's charging my Celesta Gem sword right now in your inventory, and those are all the missing.
Cool.
I'm going to be giving you the complete guide to the Apotheosis mod in Minecraft. Quick disclaimer here, if you're watching this for version 1.21, then it's actually split out into Apothic and Apotheosis. There's Apothic spawners and Apothic attributes and a few other modules like Apothic enchanting. They've actually separated it into separate mods. We will be going over all of them today. If you are playing on versions 1.20.1 and below, it's all in the same mod, Apotheosis. The first thing to note is that Apotheosis actually changes a few things in vanilla Minecraft, which is a really good thing. We have it called the garden module. Bamboo, cactus, and sugarcane. Bamboo will now grow 32 blocks tall. Sugarcane will actually have its maximum growth height to 255, and cactus can now grow to height of 5. There are some other very small changes, like in villages, the fletching table, you can now craft arrows. There's lots of new arrow types that you can trade. And then there's also a lot of changes to potions in vanilla Minecraft as well. There's a new potion called the Potion of Ancient Knowledge. While under its effects, any experience generated from mobs you kill is multiplied. At level 1, it quadruples experience drops, whereas at level 2, it multiplies it by 8. There's a new effects it also adds. Bleeding is a negative effect applied by broadhead arrows. It causes you to take damage every 2 seconds, and the damage increases with each level of bleeding. There's sundering, which is another negative effect. While under its effects, all damage received is increased by 20% per level. Grievous wounds, while under its effects, all healing received is reduced 40% per level, and bursting vitality, which is actually a positive potion effect, all healing is going to be increased by 20% per level. There's also new recipes for vanilla potions. So some vanilla potions you may or may not have been aware of, you couldn't actually get recipes for. With Apotheosis, you now can. These are haste without resistance, mining fatigue, and absorption. If you go into the book here, which is the Chronicle of Shadows, made with a book and a gold ingot, this will show you it in some of the potion module, and then potion recipes, and you can go haste, and it shows you how to make it. So mining fatigue, resistance, without absorption, haste are all potions from vanilla that you can now actually make. It also adds potion charms, which I'm going to show you in here. These are all the potion charms here. They're actually really easy to make. You basically get 6 blaze powder and 3 of the potion you want to use, and you can use it in your curios slot if you have the curios add-on, which is this little button here in your inventory, and you can see you can add a curio, etc., or a charm. So you can add these into your charm slot. Is it a charm slot? It's one of them. Well, you should be able to. Anyway, it doesn't actually appear you can, but it's weird. But they do also work in your inventory. You can just right-click them to enable them. You can see there I now have strength on my player. And they're for all different potions you can use those. There is a way to actually make them unbreakable, but that is something we'll be talking about later in the enchanting part of this video. One of the modules that Apotheosis adds into Minecraft is Apothic Spawners. This is their Spawners module, and it changes and does quite a lot. If you are playing on version 1.21 or above of Minecraft, it's now changed to Apothic Spawners. So in JR, you have to put at Apothic Spawn, and it will show you all the items, whereas in version 1.20 below, it would just be Apotheosis, and it will show you this module. So the first thing is, it does add a new enchantment. This is called Capturing. The Capturing enchant can be added to a sword, and when you kill a mob with this enchant on, it gives you a small chance for it to drop its spawn egg. Speaking of spawn eggs, if you use a spawn egg on an Apotheosis spawner, like this one here, well, it's just a Minecraft spawner, but it's changed by Apotheosis, then it will actually change that spawner to that mob. So you can see I've got a cave spider spawn egg, and if I use the monster spawner here, I use it, and suddenly it's now a cave spider spawner. With Silk Touch, we can now also mine these spawners and actually pick them up and replace them somewhere else. But the really exciting thing that Apotheosis or Apothic Spawners now changes is what we can actually do to the spawners. If I go to an Apothic Spawner and press U on it, you can see there's 32 different things we could do. So if you use a turtle egg onto the spawner, so you just right-click onto the spawner, it means that the spawner will always spawn a baby entity if possible. A piston adds spawn range, a fermented spider's eye adds spawn count. If you add some wool, it will make the spawner silent. We can add redstone control. We can add how far you have to be away or close to with prismarine crystals. There's no AI. What's it even mean? Spawn entities will have no AI. Also, just spawn and be dumb, I guess, with chorus fruit. We can add a spawn delay, add more entities that it'll spawn, take away the spawn delay, take away initial health. Will it ignore players? Will it ignore light? Will it ignore conditions? Burning? If you actually then use things like a turtle egg in your main hand, but never quartz in your offhand, it will never be useful. In other words, if you're doing a zombie, it will never spawn baby zombies, which is really, really useful. And the same with all of the other ones. Again, if you use it with never quartz in your offhand, it will do the complete opposite of what you would usually get with that enchantment for the spawner. One of the main things that Apotheosis adds into Minecraft is a broad expansion on enchanting. Now, if you are playing again in 1.21 or higher, you need to remember it's now called Apothic Enchanting, but in versions 1.20 and below, this is Apotheosis. So, what does it actually change? Well, this here is the standard enchanting setup from vanilla Minecraft that you're probably used to. And you may be aware that you can usually enchant up to level 30. But with Apotheosis, we can now go up to level 100. However, we are going to need some more complex bookshelves to do this. When we open our enchanting table, you'll see it mainly looks the same, but now we have Eterna, Quanta, and Arcana in the options. Now, as you can see, I have got a fully kitted out vanilla setup. And if I put my bookshelf in, you can see there is a little bit of each, but mostly Eterna. So Eterna, level 30 out of 100. This is the maximum you can get with the vanilla bookshelf setup. So what does Eterna, Quanta, and Arcana do in Apotheosis? Well, Eterna is the one that is actually going to determine the maximum level you can enchant at. Hence, with the vanilla setup, it's 30 out of 100. Quanta affects how random your enchants are going to be. The more Quanta we have, it's going to reduce the negative possibilities of this randomness. So, you could get a curse on your pickaxe, but if you have a lot of Quanta, then it's actually going to reduce the chance that this random, the randomness is actually going to be negative. And Arcana makes rare enchantments a lot more common, and it also increases the number of enchantments that will be applied in one use of the table. One other thing you'll see on here, can you see it on my screen? It says Enchanting Clues 1. So Enchanting Clues, for example in here, gives us a clue as to what's going to be enchanted, behind the symbols. So you can see here, Efficiency 1, cool. Efficiency 2, and Tombstone, Soulbound. So these are, we know that at level 30, we're likely to get about 3 or more enchantments, but we can only get one here. We can see one, should I say, and that's a clue as to what one of these enchantments will be. And there are ways to increase how many clues we can get, which I'll be showing you shortly. Then we have the Enchantment Library and the Library of Alexandria. With the Enchantment Library, which let's see if you can make it easily. Yes, as you can see, you are going to need some Apotheosis or Apothic Enchanting bookshelves to make it, but don't worry, I'll be showing you all of those shortly. As it says here, the Enchantment Library is a block that stores enchantments. Inserting an enchanting book will deposit it. Left-clicking on a stored enchantment will extract one level of it. Shift-clicking will extract the maximum level available. So basically, if I go in here, you can see it says Sharpness, and I can click it, and then I can take out Sharpness 1. If I right-click on Sharpness, it then says Sharpness 2. And if I right-click it again, well, that's what we've got in here. But what I can do is just go Destruction 7 or 6, whatever that is, and I can just click it into this blue slot, and I've now put Destruction into the bookshelf, and it will just store all of your enchantments. Then we have the Library of Alexandria, which is pretty much the same thing, but you can just store a lot more of them. There are limits on how much you can store in here, but these limits are really, really high. You often don't really need to worry about them. Then it comes to bookshelves. As you can see here, we've got quite a range of different bookshelves that we are using on this enchantment table. And that is that to upgrade it into a Library of Alexandria, you need a very specific setup. So if we put in our enchantment library, you can see I've got 100 Eterna, 45% Quanta, and I've got basically 100% Arcana. And I can use this one called Infusion, which when I do it will turn it into a Library of Alexandria. To be able to upgrade it into a Library of Alexandria, you need it to be very specific amounts in here, and this is the setup you will need to upgrade it. So you'll need 2 infused seashells. Can you notice on the seashell it says Eterna plus 5% and Arcana plus 5%, the Draconic End shelf Eterna plus 20, the Melon shelf Eterna minus 2 and Quanta minus 10%, and Echoing Skulk shelf, it actually gives some clues as well, etc, etc. So if you do want to upgrade it to the Library of Alexandria, these are the bookshelves you will need. And again, I'm going to be showing you through all of the bookshelves in just a moment. So to upgrade it, you need to have 2 infused seashells, 2 Draconic End shelves, 3 Melon shelves, 6 Echoing Skulk shelves, and 8 bookshelves. And that is the exact setup to get the right values of the free stats to upgrade that. Now let's move on to the actual shelves you can get and how to get them. The bee shelf, Quanta plus 100% and Eterna minus 30. I think this is for something with productive bees, I'm not actually sure. But it's used for a specific reason, these 3 shelves are generally to help you get specific stats, but I'm not actually sure what this one is for. But you've got the bee shelf, you've got the stone shelf, and you've got the melon shelf. Then we're going on to the general progression of our shelves. So to start off, we've got our hell shelves. These are going to primarily increase your Eterna and Quanta. And there's variants that can give us more enchanting clues, etc. So the first hell shelf is just going to need a potion of regeneration and some nether bricks, etc. And you can see it adds Eterna and Quanta. Then we have the infused hell shelf. For this one, you can actually upgrade it in your enchanting table, and you need at least 30% quanta and at least 45 Eterna. So basically, to upgrade to an infused hell shelf, you're going to need to use 10 hell shelves in your setup to be able to get to here. I'm going to be showing you these in order, so you could just imagine that if I'm showing you this one, you generally need the ones before in your setup, etc., to get to the next steps, and that's generally how it's going to work. You just keep adding them until you get there. I'm sure you can work it out quite easily. The Hell Shelf of Masterful Sight. This one is a really interesting one. This actually adds 2 enchanting clues, so it's quite expensive to make, as you can see here. So when I use this shelf, let's go back and actually see it in action. Remember over here, I put my diamond pickaxe in. I can only see that it's going to give efficiency 3. Whereas if I put on a Masterful Sight, which gives 2 enchanting clues, I put my pickaxe in, you can now see what all 3 enchants will be on my pickaxe. We have the Blazing Hell Shelf. This adds a lot of Eterna and Quanta, but it will take off an enchanting clue. And the Glowing Hell Shelf adds a lot of Eterna, Arcana, and Quanta. The end, really. And that is the best one. And the glowing one, you actually use by using an infused one with just some glowstone. But then this may be mod pack dependent, of course. So it's not all super difficult to get. Then we move on to Seashells. Seashells are primarily going to increase your Eterna and Arcana. There isn't a variant that allows you to exclude certain enchantments and curses from appearing on your table, which is really, really useful as well. So we have the Sea Shelf, we have the infused Sea Shelf, and then we have the Sea Shelf of Aquatic Filtration. Of course we do. So what we can actually do, let's say I don't want Sharpness 2, I can right-click the Sea Shelf of Aquatic Filtration, and the Sharpness 2 book will no longer appear in the enchants that I will get in my enchanting table, which is amazing, in my opinion. Then we have the Heart-Forged Sea Shelf and the Crystalline Sea Shelf. These are basically just upgraded versions, with the crystalline one being the best, and you need about 15 of them to upgrade to the next steps, which is going to be Dormant, and Echoing, Skulk Shelves, and Deep Shelves. You do want the non-dormant one of the Deep Shelf. There we go, it's just called Deep Shelf, this is the one you actually want to get. You basically make a dormant one with just deep slate tiles and some books, and then you make it into a non-dormant version in Infusion. And you can use some, I think it would just be like a few Blazing Hell Shelves and some Crystalline Sea Shelves, and you'll be absolutely fine to get at least these requirements. But again, with all the ones I've shown you prior, just using like the best of them, or etc., you'll be fine getting to this. The Echoing Deep Shelf, which is really good, it adds 5 Eterna and 15 Arcana. The Echoing Skulk Shelf, Eterna, Quanta, and Arcana. And then the Soul Touched and Deep Shelf and Skulk Shelf. You may need to kill wardens and stuff to get these, but they are really, really powerful, especially this one. The Soul Touch Skulk Shelf gives 10 Eterna up to 80, 15 Quanta, and 10% Arcana per shelf, and 1 enchanting clue, which takes us on to the near finale, the End Shelf. So the End Shelf, again, you can actually just craft with some infused Dragon Breath. I say it's so easy to get. And this is going to give you Eterna, Quanta, and Arcana as well. Then we have the Pearlescent End Shelf, which is actually quite a simple upgrade. If you've been to the end, you actually just go straight to these ones. And then the Draconic one. The Draconic one needing, is this any Ender Pearl? I think so. It does need a dragon head, however, just FYI, but it does give 20 Eterna alone. And then finally, you've got the Deep Shelf of Arcane Treasures. Oh god, it's so powerful. This one gives 10 Eterna, minus 15 Quanta and Arcana, but allows treasure enchantments. So this one, treasure enchantments are special enchantments that are typically unavailable in the enchanting table, however, can be remedied with this super duper whooper pooper enchantment bookshelf, needing deep shelves, blocks of gold, diamonds, and you name it. Placing this bookshelf in a valid slot will cause treasure enchantments to appear when enchanting, but most curses are treasure enchantments, so do be careful. And that is it. So if you want to build the absolute perfect enchanting setup, I'm going to show you it now. So if you truly want the best of the best enchanting setup, let's get an enchanting table to start us off, of course. What you're going to want is 5 Echoing Skulk Shelves. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're going to want 1 B Shelf, 2 Heart-Forged Sea Shelves, 2 Draconic End Shelves, 1 Deep Shelf of Arcane Treasures, and you could go for one thing I forgot to tell you about, which was the Geode Encased Bookshelf of Stability, of course. I mean, everyone needs one of those, don't they? And what that does is it removes all negative enchantments. Can you see that it says it provides quantic stability? Now remember, Quanta, the higher Quanta we have, the more, or the less random it is, and it helps reduce the chance of negative enchantments. This completely and utterly removes negative enchantments. So I know this is awful, but this is actually going to provide you, there you go, the most perfect enchanting setup. Now you can, how many clues do we have on here? 6. So you've got more than enough clues as well. You can just fill it up remaining with bookshelves if you want. It's not going to really do anything extra. It just looks nicer. Although this doesn't look very, this actually annoys me because it doesn't look symmetrical. My OCD is playing up there, but that is how you get the most perfect setup. Now there is other ways to actually get some of these bonuses, and that is from here. It's called, if you just put enchanting stats into JEI here, there are some other items that will actually give you some things, like if you use purple candles, etc. You get some Arcana. You can use skulls to get more Quanta. I think that's pretty much it. There's these candles as well that come from another mod, and it's anything that's a candle, really. Occultism candles are quite good if you have that mod installed, yes. So do put in enchanting stats if you're going to get something you can't quite get the bookshelves yet. This could be another way of you upgrading your stats. There's also tomes that you can get, which basically, like if you look at this here, Tome of the Others will accept miscellaneous enchants. A tome can be enchanted just like a book, but can only receive specific enchants. I don't really know what the benefit is here. The exception is the Tome of Scrapping. Once you enchant a tome, it will transform into an enchanted book. Accepts boot enchants. Yeah, I don't really get the benefit of using them, if I'm honest. The Tome of Scrapping is a way of retrieving enchantments from an item, so that I understand. Combining one with another item in the anvil will destroy the other item and make the book with some of the enchantments at random. Lastly, we have cobwebs. Prismatic cobwebs can be combined with an item in an anvil to remove all curses, which is really, really useful. And that is everything you could possibly need to know about Apophic enchanting in Apotheosis. If I can say the right mod name. One of the really cool things Apotheosis adds to Minecraft is their adventure module. All these items behind me, loads of gems and fixes for your gear. So when you're out in the world, you may actually find in dungeons and bosses, etc., that you're getting unique items dropping from Apotheosis. The items come in 6 rarities. The first one is common. It's barely above normal gear and may receive 1 to 2 bonus stats. Now, there is something called gear salvaging, which we would do in a salvaging table. The salvaging table will need some gem dust, a lava bucket, etc., etc. Now, you usually will get your gem dust in the salvaging table, but to get your first bits of gem dust, specifically, you're going to need a few bits to make the 2 pieces to make the salvaging table. To actually get your first pieces, you are going to drop any apophic gem, so a gem from Apotheosis, into the world and make an anvil block fall on it. After that, use the salvaging table. So basically, what we would do is I would get an anvil, I'm going to get my gem, I'm going to, oh, of course, it's going to, I'm in creative, I'm going to get the gem, throw it down there, anvil. I feel like it's quite self-explanatory, but you know, and boom, we have got some dust. You need to do that twice, okay? And then you can make your salvaging table. So in the salvaging table, you're going to put any unique gear that you find, and it's going to give you resources back. Now, as you can see, this diamond pickaxe is a normal diamond pickaxe, so I can't salvage it into anything. However, if we get this one, which you can see has all these extra stuff on it, if I put this into here, you can see that we're going to get something here. And if I press salvage item, I got some luminous crystal shards. This is for a rare piece of equipment. So when you scrap common gear, you will get mysterious scrap metal. When you scrap uncommon gear, you will get time-worn fabric. Uncommon gear is a bit better than common and gives you 2 to 3 stat bonuses and maybe even a gem socket. We're going to look at how to install gems and gem sockets shortly. After that, we have rare, which gives you the luminous crystal shards. There's epic, which gives you arcane sands in here. And we are going to use these to further enhance our gear, by the way. And then mythic, which is going to be God-forged pearls. There is ancient as well, but I don't think that's been implemented into the game yet. And then there's mythic for God-forged pearls. So what do we do with this then? So you've gotten an item from a dungeon or a mob, and you're like, okay, I don't really want it. I've reforged it into some basic crafting materials. Well, then you're going to make the simple reforging table, which is made again with some gem dust and enchanting table. In here, you put your material that you've used from scrapping in the top left, and you're going to put some sigils of rebirth in the bottom right-hand corner here. Sigils of rebirth made of gem-fused slate, which again is just some gem dust and deep slate, etc., etc. And then you put the item you want to reforge into the center. This could be an item that already has stats on it, or it can be a plain item that you want to enhance, like my basic diamond pickaxe. Now, because I'm putting in luminous crystal shards, it's generally going to be a rare item I get back. Whereas if I put in, God-forged pearls, well, you'll notice I can't put them in here, and that's actually going to bring us to my next point. But obviously, you would get a mythic item back out. So we then get 3 choices down here. This one requires 1 enchantment level, 2 luminous crystal shards, and 2 is that sigils of rebirth. You can see the reforged cost on the top left, and you can see the stats and bonuses it's going to get on. And this one would have 2 sockets. This one would only have 1 socket, and this one wouldn't have any sockets, even though the level requirement is 45. The level 45 level requirement one isn't necessarily better, in my opinion. It just is a different chance. It's kind of just your 3 different options. This is the default option. You can pay more to basically get 2 different options here. So let's take the first option, which gives us some attack speed, entity interaction range, more attack damage, plus 50% mining speed nearly, and some more submerged mining speed for underwater. This item ignores 18% of durability damage, which is a really cool item. But maybe I want a mythic item. Well, to do that, you need to upgrade it from a simple reforging table to a reforging table. The reforging table needing some arcane sands, some epic gear, a netherite ingot, the simple one, and some nether bricks. And in here, you can go up to mythic, etc. So I can put the same pickaxe in, and this time I can get, oh good lord, a mythic one. I can re-roll the stats, etc. into a mythic item, which is absolutely incredible by the look of it. So how do we put these gems in these sockets then? Well, quite simply, you go into a normal Minecraft smithing table, put in the tool in the middle slot here, and you see it's got 3 empty sockets. Well, let's use the flawed gem of incandescent inferno, of course. You can see that it fits in mining tools, chest plates, helmets, melee weapons, and tridents. So one thing to mention here, sometimes it will say heavy weapons, axes are heavy weapons, paxels count as tools, swords and tridents are known as light weapons, chest plates and leggings are core armor, and tridents are not classed as ranged weapons. Why am I telling you this? Because certain gems can be used on certain things. For example, this one fits on melee weapons and tridents, but not ranged weapons. So you can't use it on a bow, but you can a trident. You can't use it on foot, but you can use it on a chest plate, for example. So I can use this on my pickaxe, so I can just put it into here, and can you see on the left it says +1 level to efficiency, and that's because of the gem I put in. So I take it out, and I put my gem in there. Now, what if I want to remove that gem? Well, if I go, I've got them here, there's some other sigils you can make. There's a sigil of enhancement used to fuel the augmentation table, which is this one I'll be showing you soon. We've got sigil of socketing, adds a socket to an item. I think you could just use this in, I think it's in the smithing table, but you can't use it on this one, I guess, because it's mythic. And then the sigil of withdrawal removes all socket gems from an item. So you can see here, I wouldn't get the gem back, but I would get my pickaxe back with 3 empty slots again. So that's how you remove your gem, sigil of withdrawal. Now, gems actually have multiple different levels. Let's look at a gem, for example. Let's look at the cracked brawler's gem. This fits in chest plates and leggings, etc. When socketed in light weapons, it gives +10 attack speed, core armor, it gives max health. So we have a cracked, a chipped, a flawed, a brawler's, a flawless, and a perfect one. So how do we upgrade gems? Well, you can make a gem cutting table. What we would do in this is, let's take the gem that we just used as an example. Let's say we want to upgrade a cracked brawler's gem. So I put 1 in the middle and 1 in the top. 2 gems making 1 of the higher level gem. And then you're going to need some salvage material. The salvage material will depend on what level you're making. So if I put a God-forged pearl in here, then we should get, I guess, the perfect gem. But this is basically how you upgrade them. So it depends on what rarity of material you are using. And then the other item you need is your gem dust. So we just put that in this slot, and then you press this. Missing inputs. What inputs could it be missing? Gem dust, God-forged pearl. Maybe you can't go up to that level. If I put a luminous in here. Hang on, what am I forgetting here? Sorry, I think I misspoke there, guys. You can't just upgrade it straight to mythic. 2 cracked gems will need the rarity material of the next level up. I was thinking, hang on, that seems too easy, and I was right. So 2 cracked ones will require time-worn fabric. We press upgrade gem, and now we have a chipped brawler's gem. If I put in 2 chipped brawler's gem with our rare material, which is luminous crystal shards, we can then upgrade it into a flawed one. And then we put 2 of these in with the epic, which is called sands, and then the epic one, and then you go to upgrade it again, and then you put in your God-forged pearl, which will get you to a flawless one. And then a flawless one, you have to get to perfect, you put a few, so it's either, I love how I'm actually learning something here. It's not often I do tutorials, I actually learned something, because I've usually learned it all beforehand. But what we can do here is actually put 2 flawless ones in with either 9 epic sands or 3 God-forged pearls and get the perfect one. So there you go, that's how you upgrade gems. Even I learned something there. There are a few unique gems in the overworld. There's the gem of the royal family, and then you also have the gem of the earth. In the nether, we have the incandescent inferno and ravenous bloodlord. In the end, I put gay slayer, mage slayer. Mage slayer gem is in the end, and the ender surge. I haven't really looked at what these do. Just have a look for your own what gems you'd like to get. Remember, these are going to drop off like mobs. Like if you want a gem of, for instance, the ender surge gem, you can only get to the end, so you need to kill like mobs, bosses, etc. It depends on the mod pack you're playing as to, if they've coded it in for certain bosses to drop more gems or things like this. But you must kill mobs in these dimensions to get these specific gems. And in the Twilight Forest, if you have that mod in your mod pack, the Frozen Queen, and there's actually one called Gem of the Twilight Forest, which is obviously from the Twilight Forest as well. And there we go. That's everything you need to know about apotheosis and using gems and the adventure module, which helps you through getting unique gear, tools, and gems. Thank you so much for watching. I really, really appreciate it. Whether you're watching this as part of my Apotheosis Ultimate Guide or one of the individual guides for apotheosis, I can pronounce it correctly, then thank you again for watching. We've gone through the whole This is going to be the ultimate guide to industrial foregoing. As you can see behind me, we will be covering absolutely everything. This is going to be really, this is going to be really beginner friendly. If you're not familiar with my channel, check out my homepage. There's a whole shelf for Minecraft mods, and my goal is to complete every single Minecraft mod eventually, so that you guys never have to worry about what the hell to do. So the first thing we're going to be looking at doing is going to be making some rubber and some plastic. This is one of the main things you're going to need for all of your machines in industrial foregoing. So how are we going to do that? Well, the first thing we're going to need is a fluid extractor. Let's have a look inside. So when you look inside any industrial foregoing machine, you're going to see a few things. You see on the right-hand side, we have these purple icons, and these are for your add-ons. These can speed up your machines, and we're going to be talking through those later. Then we have often fluid tanks or item interfaces. And the way that we can control these is with any coloured little boxes down here where my mouse is. And as you can see here, we just have one for latex. So when we click on the yellow one here, you can just about see that it's outlining. In fact, let me show you a different one so it's more obvious. Here we go. This is the latex processing unit. You see here we have the output, which is orange, labelled here output, water, and latex. If I click water, it highlights the water tank and it shows you sites. If I then got a water tank, or a sink, let's say, I put that here, and let's say on the water side, I said at the back, I want it disabled. And I put a basic mechanical pipe on here, I get my configurator, because I use mechanism for my item pipes just because I find it easier. I think it's the best way to do it generally, using other mods. Industrial foregoing doesn't really do very well with transferring energy, items, and things like that. You really do want to use a different mod for that. And that's the only thing we're going to be using something else for. So you can see here, no water has come in. If I put the back to a tick, nothing is coming in, and if I say pull, you can now see the water is being pulled from the back in here. And the same as with the output, we can actually push or pull, etc., or disable it on each side. So we know which way each thing wants to go, and it's the same on all industrial foregoing machines. So on our output here, I can push it to the right, for example, and it will come out here. So now we understand how that works. What are the other things we can see in our back to our fluid extractor? Power, of course. I'll be powering these with creative energy cubes from Mechanism, just for the purpose of the tutorial. Of course, power them however you like. I am going through basically kind of how much power you need at each stage. So we powered it. We've got here high particle position. This is just an aesthetical thing. In some machines in their working area, you will see particles in the air. You can turn that off or not. We can show the working area, which is the block in front of it. You can see here, it is going to extract fluids from any blocks in that one block in front of it. Now, remember I said about add-ons earlier? I'm going to show you how to make them at a later point. I can put in here a range tier 2 add-on, or not. So you can't put any in this fluid extractor, meaning you can only ever extract from the block in front of it. But you can always show the working area if you're not sure. And then we have redstone mode, ignored, run with no redstone, run with redstone, run on pulse, or again, ignored. And when is it going to extract from the block in front of it? When this green bar gets to the bottom. That is basically the work time. So once it gets to the bottom, it will go ding, and it will start using, it'll perform an action. And that's the same on all machines. And that is the basics to using industrial foregoing machines. So now that we understand how machines work in concept, how do we make our plastic then? Well, what I've got here is 3 fluid extractors, okay, and a piece of wood. So let's just make it ourselves so we can see. So I'm going to place down a block placer. This is also from industrial foregoing. To make these kind of items, you can use plastic or plastic sheets for a block placer. And you may be thinking, well, I haven't got plastic yet. No problem. You can put the block placer down after you've made your first few bits of plastic. And before that, we just need to make fluid extractors. Fluid extractors are going to need some weighted pressure plates, and the only thing for industrial foregoing is a pity machine frame, which will just need some wood and redstone, etc. So what you could do here is I would place down 3 fluid extractors, and the way you place it is which way it will face. So if I place it down in front of me like that, then it'll be facing this direction. You can see here where it's extracting the fluid from. If I place it like that, it's going to go like that. So you want to place it like this, so that each of the fronts are facing the same direction, and they're going to extract fluid from whatever block is in the middle here, which is going to be a log. I'm going to use an oak log. And if I put that there and give these fluid extractors some power, what you'll see is they're slowly breaking apart the log and they're extracting from it latex. So this is how you get latex in industrial foregoing. I know this tutorial is starting off slow. We are going to speed up a bit shortly, but I just want to really hone in the basics of how we're using machines in industrial foregoing first, and how to make the basic materials. I'm not going through all the recipes, etc. either. Only when it's important. And slowly but surely, these machines are all going to extract latex from the fluid extractor. So here's one I made earlier, and what I actually done is I've then put the block placer in, which does need plastic, so they will automatically place the wood. So they've taken out the latex, and I'm pumping it out with some mechanism mechanical pipes. You can use whatever pipes you like, of course. And don't forget, in latex, we can say here we'll be pushing or just putting a tick because the pipes are put to pull themselves on the top. So we're pulling out all of the latex. We then want to pump that into a latex processing unit. That needs latex, obviously, and also water. So you need to pump in your water here with your latex, and that will automatically turn the latex into dry rubber. Sometimes it will make tiny dry rubber, and you have to put the tiny dry rubber, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 in a crafting table to make it into like the larger dry rubber. But in this mod pack, which is ATM10 that I'm showing you in, they just make it into dry rubber completely. But in some versions of Minecraft, it'll come out as tiny dry rubber, and you just need to use some sort of compactor, or just in a manual crafting table, just put 9 tiny dry rubber in, and it'll turn into a big piece of dry rubber. Then, once you put your dry rubber, all you want to do, let's take it out here, for example, is put that dry rubber into a furnace, and it'll turn it into plastic here. So you can see 1 dry rubber is going to equal 1 plastic. And there we go. We've made plastic in industrial foregoing. Let's just go over that one more time really quickly. So you're going to put fluid extractors down, facing an oak log or any type of log, and it'll extract fluid. Take the fluid out into a pipe and put it into a latex processing unit and pump in some water, and that'll make it into rubber, and then smelt the rubber into plastic. So now that you've got a few bits of plastic, we can actually make this a bit more efficient. I've added another machine from industrial foregoing, the water condensator at the back. This machine from industrial foregoing will literally scoop up water from around it. So it's literally this water source here, it's pumping up water, and then I'm outputting it into a pipe into the latex processing unit. And the other machine that you can use to automate this process is, of course, our block placer, which in here, you could just place all of your oak logs, and it will place them. So if I get all my oak logs, I could put a whole stack in, I could put in loads of stacks of oak logs and automate the block placer. As soon as this oak log here is gone, and this green bar gets to the bottom, it will place another oak log for the fluid extractors to extract from. Because you can see it's cracked, and eventually it will disappear. So the block placer will keep replacing it, and you have automated your latex production. So that, everyone, is how we can make and automate latex, rubber, and plastic, which we're going to be using in pretty much all of our machines in industrial foregoing. Now that we know how to make plastic, what we're now going to go on to is farming, and then we're going to look at farming with animals. Industrial foregoing is one of my favourite mods for making mob farms, making plant farms, tree farms, and animal farms. And by the way, guys, please do subscribe if this is a helpful tutorial for you. Obviously, this is a very long video. It's a lot of work. I really, really appreciate it. Just clicking that button massively helps support the channel so I can do more mod guides like this. And while we're chatting on that subject, if there are other mods that you can't find up-to-date guides on, there's maybe not very good guides out there, or there just isn't any at all on mods you're playing, whether it's on 1.12 or 1.21, you know, or anything in between, do let me know in the comments, because I really want to know what mods you're struggling to get guides on or do, because I like learning them to teach you guys. So, on to plants. We have the plant sower, we have the plant fertilizer, we have the plant gatherer, and we have the sludge refiner. These are the 4 machines we're using for plants. Let's start off with the plant sower. This is an interesting one when we look inside. We can see here it just has an input that we can control, and then it has this craziness. So on top, can you see here it says yellow is that way, red is that way, green is that way, etc. Well, this is the planting area. So you can specify in those areas where you want to plant. Let's show the working area. Now, unfortunately, you do have to put this, or fortunately, depending on what you think. Actually, no, it's a good thing, because you don't have to have a machine anyway. The working area is actually 1 block above where it is. And do you remember earlier I said about hiding position particles? That is these particles here that you can see. So, if I wanted to farm on a much bigger area, again, I would put a range add-on. Don't worry, I'm going to show you how to make these after we go through animals and farming. So I could put in a tier 2 range upgrade, and now this is the area that we're going to be farming in. So this kind of quadrant here will be the green area, and over here is the red area sort of thing. And you can say only in that corner, put potatoes, only in that corner, put wheat seeds. Apart from that, you can lock the input as well. That's really, really useful on the plant sower, because what we can do here is, say if you are doing this, where you're doing potatoes and seeds, and maybe you are pulling your seeds and potatoes back into the machine so it can replant, because it won't do that for you, and you're dealing with different crops, what you can say is, I want to put all potatoes down here, and seeds, I want to put down here. Because let's say that your seeds are growing faster than your potatoes, and you're pushing the potatoes back into here with some sort of piping system. Imagine it all fills up with potatoes, and then suddenly you don't have any room for any seeds anymore. If you lock the input, you can see here, these slots are now designated to seeds and potatoes, meaning you don't have to worry about it all filling up with potatoes in here, and it'll just be, you know, like you have it here, which is really, really perfect. It's a really good idea for these kind of machines. The rest of it is pretty much the same as I showed you before, you know, the working power, etc. So we're now going to go over to my little farm that I've done, and the plant sower is down here. Or is it this one I've done? Wheat. Yes, perfect. So what we can see here is I've got some seeds in the plant sower. So I put it down, and you do need to place the water yourself, and you need to hoe the ground yourself. It will not do that for you, but it will replant. So I put my water down here, I've got my tier 2 range add-on, and I've put the water on top here. So what we have is loads of seeds in here. We've got seeds going in green and potatoes going in red. But what you can see here is the seeds have gone pretty much nearly everywhere, apart from red, which is where you'd see potatoes. In green, we're saying only plant wheat seeds, which is this corner over here. But in the rest of them, we're basically saying we don't care what you plant, and therefore it will plant whatever it can, which may be a good or bad thing for you. So it's planting the rest of the seeds in the areas that it's allowed to. It's just not allowed in the red area. So in the red area, if I now put some potatoes in here, I can spell potato. What you're now going to see is that when the green bar gets to the bottom, sometimes anyway, when it can be bothered, there we go, it started planting the potatoes in this little red area here. You can see on the machine, red is that corner, which is where we designated potatoes only. And now it's placed potatoes there and wheat everywhere else, because we've allowed it to plant anything in these ones and only wheat and green. So green is definitely wheat everywhere else. Plant whatever you like. If I actually start getting rid of these, it may even plant potatoes here, because it doesn't care. It'll just kind of choose, it might be whatever comes up in the inventory first. Yes, look, it's plant potatoes, because it doesn't care what we plant there. So that's how we use the plant sower to plant our seeds. Then we have the plant gatherer. So I'm just going to turn off the working area for the plant sower. Oh, it wasn't even for this machine, it was for that one. This is the plant gatherer. What this one will do is it gathers your food. So we've got the, you can put ether gas in here, which I think works out in wheat, everywhere else. Plant what the hell you like. If I actually start getting rid of these, it may even plant potatoes here, because it doesn't care. It will just kind of choose, it might be whatever comes up in the inventory first. Yes, look, it plant potatoes, because it doesn't care what we plant there. So that's how we use the plant sower to plant our seeds. Then we have the plant gatherer. So I'm just going to turn off the working area for the plant sower. Oh, it wasn't even for this machine, it was for that one. This is the plant gatherer. What this one will do is it gathers your food. So we've got the, you can put ether gas in here, which I think works out, we're not going to talk about ether gas right now, but I think it may work as like a fertilizer, or does it get it? I'm not sure why you have ether gas in here, but you don't need to worry about that at this point anyway. So it's going to gather all of the crops it can in the area that you designate with your add-on, with your range. We show the working area, again, it's harvesting in that area. One thing it will get though is sludge. You're always going to get sludge along with it. Now, what do we do with sludge? So I've got another gatherer set up here, and you can see there's no sludge in there, but it is harvesting these lovely crops for us. Now I'm pulling out the back of this mechanism pipe into a sludge refiner. The sludge refiner does something very simple. It takes your sludge and it turns it into these different items: red sand, soul sand, gravel, dirt, clay, and sand. TLDR is, it's an automated way of getting basic materials like dirt, gravel, clay, and sand for you. So from that, you can just output the sludge into the refiner, and you've basically got an automatic farm passively making dirt, etc., which is really cool. Otherwise, you can have it pumping out into like some sort of bin or disposal system. And that is the plant gatherer. Then we have the plant fertilizer. This does, you guessed it, once the green bar gets to the bottom, it'll fertilize the crops to grow them quicker. You can put bone meal in here. And in fact, it probably will take any kind of mods fertilizer, but don't quote me on that. You can put bone meal in here, or you can put fertilizer from industrial foregoing. And I'm going to show you that in animal husbandry. So again, the plant sower sows the crops, the plant gatherer harvests them. And what you could do is set up like a pipe system, which we don't really have with industrial foregoing, not really. But you can have pipes coming out where the seeds and the potatoes go back into the sower, and then the excess goes into a chest somewhere, something like that. And the fertilizer fertilizes them, which isn't necessarily needed. And the sludge refiner, which is like a farm for your sludge. And again, you don't have to use the sludge refiner. You can just dump the sludge into like a bin or a trash can or something. So how do we get that fertilizer in the plant fertilizer then? The fertilizer from industrial foregoing. We're going to have to move over to animal husbandry. So here we are at animal husbandry. We've got a few machines here. We've got an animal feeder, an animal baby separator, we've got an animal rancher, we've got a mob crusher, and a sewer. A big, dirty old sewer. Oh, by the way, guys, if you're getting impatient, this is the machine here. We're going to talk about add-ons and upgrades, so we're nearly there for that one. Animal feeder. If we go in here, very simple interface, it's going to feed animals. You put wheat in here for cows. Obviously, when you feed the cows, it's then going to breed them. That really is all there is to it. Now, as you can see here, there's a lot more in this pen than there is in this pen. That's because I've got an animal baby separator in the middle. And that says, do you want to move babies or do you want to move adults? And what you could do is move the babies or adults into the next pen. You could specify maybe babies, and then, and then move them again when they grow up to then be slaughtered, which sounds lovely, I know. So what you can say here in this one is move babies. So the feeder, you put the feed in, the wheat, and it's going to feed the cows in front of it, as you can see, and breed them. You can then put a baby animal separator in between to move the babies from this pen into this pen. And then you could put another animal baby separator, say here, for this pen, and say move adults. That means a few machines here. We've got an animal feeder, an animal baby separator, we've got an animal rancher, we've got a mob crusher, and a sewer. A big, dirty old sewer. Oh, by the way, guys, if you're getting impatient, this is the machine here we're going to talk about. Babies that have been moved into this pen, grow up into adults, so then get moved into a third pen. And that third pen could have a slaughtering device, like a mob crusher. So let's set this up then, as if we were going to do it ourselves, which we are.
Kept
So I'm
phrasing.
going to set up a 3x3 area in here, like that. And I'm going to set up another one, like this. So you can set up 3 pens like this. Now, if you're playing on an older version of Industrial Freezing,
It's still freezing. What the fuck, YouTube? Oh, yeah. I'm done watching these videos. I already know this. Well, no, I already know that one. I don't know this one. This one. These two will wait till tomorrow. I'll bookmark those. Save. Bookmark. Save. There. We'll watch those tomorrow. Yeah. Oh, that was a huge yawn. Holy wow. Yeah, so that was that. Interesting stuff. I retained none of that information, I think. I don't even remember what we watched. We watched Mahao, Tsukai, Apotheosis, Modern Industrialization, Just Dire Things. Maybe something else in there. Oh, Easy Mob Farm. This seems interesting. I might look into this. Ori Tech, I want to get to know this one because that's in this mod pack.
This is the ultimate guide to Ori Tech.
Yeah, this is a long one, and then I want to learn pneumatic craft more. So I only know like how to make the reaction chamber, pressure reaction chamber, and that's it. So I want to know more. Yeah. Until tomorrow.